Hello and welcome as Zenith Players concludes our 25th week of live readings with Richard III. I am TJ, I'm our technical director. All of the actors you'll be hearing tonight are volunteering their time and their talents from their homes to bring a little bit of entertainment into your homes. Many of them first met each other just 15 minutes ago when they first logged into this Zoom meeting. We want to thank them very much for joining us. We'd also like to send a special thanks to our friend, Your Friendly Neighborhood Shakespeare, for hosting this on his pages, for joining us tonight and very often. Check out his website at shakespeareapproves.com and his Patreon at patreon.com/Shakespeare. We are looking forward to his September production with the social distancing players, The Tempest, a 3-hour tour, Find more about him at the aforementioned website or by visiting his Facebook page, Shakespeare Approves, Your Friendly Neighborhood Shakespeare. As always, we want to acknowledge and thank all of the medical professionals and essential workers who have been working tirelessly to keep us all as healthy and safe as possible. We also want to acknowledge those demonstrating and protesting, quite simply, Black Lives Matter. If you are interested in more information about our totally volunteer organization, check out our website, zenithplayers.com. Feel very free to check out our very attractive donations page. 100% of all those donations go towards production costs, which these days consist of the various subscriptions that allow for these readings to happen. If you would like to read with us in future projects, just send an email to casting@zenithplayers.com and we'll get you on board. Join us Monday as we finish our serial reading of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and join us next Saturday for The Trojan Women. For now, please relax and enjoy Gwen Wark as Queen Elizabeth, Patrick Brockway as the Duke of Buckingham, Catherine Gilbert as Lady Anne, as William, Lord of Hastings, Russell Slater, as the Duchess of York, Sophie Leighton Toomey, as the Earl of Richmond, Andrew Weinstein, as the first murderer, James Tyrrell and Sir James Blunt, Miguel Vega, as the second murderer, second citizen, Sir John, a priest, and second messenger, and the Earl of Surrey, Noah Stanzione, as Queen Margaret and the Earl of Oxford, Caitlin Jurowitz, as George Plantagenet, the Duke of Clarence, Michael Smith Gallo, as Sir William Stanley, the Earl of Derby, Shakira Searle, as Sir William Catesby, Will de Janey, as Sir Robert Brackenbury and a number of other roles, Andrew Gellos, as a boy and Prince Richard, Duke of York, Grace Aline, as a daughter, Page, Fourth Messenger, and Prince Edward, Cara Schramm, as the first citizen and Sir Richard Ratcliffe, Mira Singer, as Earl Rivers, Steve Anderson, as the Marquis of Dorset and the Duke of Norfolk, Emily Brennan, as a gentleman, King Edward IV, Cardinal Bouchier, and several other roles, Laurie Tanner, as the Lord Mayor of London and Lord Grey, Alison Russell, as the First Messenger and Lord Lovell, Andrea de Riso, as the Archbishop, the Bishop of Ely, Sir Christopher a Priest and Sir Thomas Vaughan, Aaron Grotus Gimble, and your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare as King Richard III. Act 1, Scene 1. Enter Richard, Duke of Gloucester, alone.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this sun of York. And all the clouds that lord upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now our brows bound with Victoria's wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to frank the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking glass, I that am rudely stamped and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why, I, in this weak, piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to see my shadow in the sun, and descant of mine own deformity. And therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain, and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots I have laid, inductions dangerous by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams, to set my brother Clarence and the king in deadly hate, the one against the other. And if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day should Clarence closely be mewed up about a prophecy which says that G of Edward's heirs the murderer shall be. Ooh, dive thoughts down to my soul. Here Clarence comes.
Enter Clarence, guarded with Brackenbury.
Brother, good day. What means this armored guard that waits upon your grace?
His Majesty, tendering my person's safety, hath appointed this conduct to convey me to the tower.
Upon what cause?
Because my name is George.
Alack, my lord, that fault is none of yours. He should, for that, commit your godfathers. Oh, belike his majesty hath some intent that you should be new christened in the tower. But what's the matter, Clarence? May I know?
Yes, Richard, when I know. For I protest as yet I do not. But as I can learn, he hearkens after prophecies and dreams, and from the crossrow plucks the letter G, and says a wizard told him that by G his issue disinherited should be. And for my name of George begins with G, it follows in his thought that I am he. These, as I learn, is such like toys as these, hath moved his highness to commit me now.
Why, this is it, when men are ruled by women. 'Tis not the king that sends you to the tower. My Lady Grey, his wife, Clarence, 'tis she that tempers him to this extremity. Was it not she and that good man of worship, Anthony Woodville, her brother there, that made him send Lord Hastings to the tower, from whence this present day he is delivered? We are not safe, Clarence, we are not safe.
By heaven, I think there is no man secure by the queen's kindred and night-walking heralds that trust betwixt the king and Mistress Shore. Heard you not what a humble suppliant Lord Hastings was to her for his delivery?
Humbly complaining to her deity, got my Lord Chamberlain his liberty. I'll tell you what, I think this is our way. If we will keep favor with the king to be her man and wear her livery, the jealous all-worn widow and herself, since that our brother dubbed them gentlewomen, are mighty gossips in our monarchy.
I beseech your graces both to pardon me. His majesty hath straitly given in charge that no man shall have a private conference of what degree soever with your brother.
Even so, and please your worship, Brackenbury, you may partake of anything we say. We speak no treason, man. We say the king is wise and virtuous, and his noble queen, well struck in years, fair and not jealous. We say that Shore's wife have a pretty foot, a cherry lip, a bonny eye, a passing pleasing tongue, and that the queen's kindred are made gentlefolks. How say you, sir? Can you deny all this?
With this, my lord, myself have naught to do.
Naught to do with Mistress Shore? I'll tell thee, fellow, he that doth not with her, excepting one, were best to do it secretly, alone.
I do beseech your grace to pardon me, and withal forbear your conference with the noble duke.
We know thy charge, Brackenbury, and will obey.
We are the queen's subjects and must obey. Brother, farewell. I will unto the king, and whatsoe'er you will employ me in, were to call King Edward's widow sister, I will perform it to enfranchise you. Meantime, this deep disgrace in brotherhood touches me deeper than you can imagine.
I know it pleadeth neither of us well.
Well, your imprisonment shall not be long. I will deliver you, or else lie for you. Meantime, Have patience.
I must, perforce. Farewell.
Exit Clarence and Brackenbury.
Go, tread the path that thou shalt ne'er return. Simple, plain Clarence, I do love thee so, that I will shortly send thy soul to heaven, if heaven will take thy present at our hands. Ooh, but who comes here? The new delivered Hastings?
Enter Lord Hastings.
A good time of day unto my gracious lord.
As much unto my good Lord Chamberlain. Well are you welcome to the open air. How hath your lordship brooked imprisonment?
With patience, noble lord, as prisoners must. But I shall live, my lord, to give them thanks that were the cause of my imprisonment.
No doubt, no doubt. And so shall Clarence too, for they that were your enemies are his, and have prevailed as much on him as you.
More pity that the eagles should be mewed while kites and buzzards prey at liberty.
What news abroad?
No news so bad abroad as this at home. The king is sickly, weak, and melancholy, and his physicians fear him mightily.
No, by St. John, that news is bad indeed. Oh, he hath kept an evil diet long, and overmuch consumed his royal person. 'Tis very grievous to be thought upon. Where is he? In his bed?
He is.
Go you before, and I will follow you.
Exit Hastings.
He cannot live, I hope, and must not die till George be packed with post-horse up to heaven. I'll in to urge his hatred more to Clarence with lies well steeled with weighty arguments, and if I fail not in my deep intent, Clarence hath not another day to live, which done, God take King Edward to his mercy and leave the world for me to bustle in. For then I'll marry Warwick's youngest daughter. What though I killed her husband and father? The readiest way to make the wench amends is to become her husband and her father. The which will I not so much for love as for another secret close intent by marrying her, which I must reach unto. But yet I run before my horse to market. Clarence still breathes. Edward still lives and reigns. When they are gone, then must I count my gains.
He exits. Act 1, Scene 2. Enter the corpse of Henry VI on a bier, with halberds to guard it, Lady Anne, the mourner, accompanied by gentlemen.
Set down. Set down your honorable load. If honor may be shrouded in a hearse, whilst I a while obsequiously lament the untimely virtuous Lancaster.
They set down the bier.
Poor key-cold figure of a holy king. Pale ashes of the house of Lancaster, thou bloodless remnant of that royal blood, be it lawful that I invocate thy ghost to hear the lamentations of poor Anne, wife to thy Edward, to thy slaughtered son, stabbed by that self-same hand that made these wounds. Lo, in these windows that let forth thy life, I pour the helpless balm of my poor eyes. Cursed be the hand that made these holes. Cursed the heart that had the heart to do it. Cursed the blood that let this blood from hence. More direful hap that I, that hated wretch that makes us wretched by the death of thee. I can wish to wolves, to spiders, toads, or any creeping, venom thing that lives. If ever he have a child, abortive be it. Prodigious and untimely brought to light, whose ugly and unnatural aspect may fright the hopeful mother at the view, and that be heir to his unhappiness. If ever he have a wife, let her be made more miserable by the death of him than I am made by my young lord and thee. Come now, towards Chertsey with your holy load, taken from Paul's to be interred there.
They take up the bier.
And still, as you are weary of this weight, rest you whilst I lament King Henry's course.
Enter Richard, Duke of Gloucester.
Stay you that bear the course and lay it down.
What black magician and conjures up this fiend to stop devoted charitable deeds.
Villains, set down the course, or by St. Paul, I'll make a course of him that disobeys.
My lord, stand back and let the coffin pass.
Unmannered dog, stand thou when I command. Advance thy halberd higher than my breast, or by St. Paul, I'll strike thee to my foot and spurn upon thee, beggar, for thy boldness.
They set
What?
down the beer.
Do you tremble? Are you all afraid? Alas, I blame you not, for you are mortal, and mortal eyes cannot endure the devil. Avaunt, thou dreadful minister of hell. Thou hast but power over his mortal body. His soul thou canst not have, therefore be gone.
Sweet saint, for charity be not so cursed.
Oh, foul devil, for God's sake, hence and trouble us not. For thou hast made the happy earth thy hell, filled it with cursing cries and deep explains. If thou delight to view thy heinous deeds, behold this pattern of thy butcheries. Gentlemen, see, dead Henry's wounds open their congealed mouths and bleed afresh. Blush, thou lump of foul deformity, for 'tis thy presence that exhales this blood from cold and empty veins where no blood dwells. Thy deeds, inhuman and unnatural, provokes this deluge most unnatural. Oh God, which this blood-maid's revenge his death. O earth, which drink'st this blood, revenge his death. Either heaven with lightning strike the murderer dead, or earth gape open wide and eat him quick, as thou dost swallow up this good king's blood, which his hell-governed arm hath butchered.
Lady, you know no rules of charity which renders good for bad and blessings for curses.
Villain, thou knowest not law of God nor man. No beast so fierce, but knows some touch of piety.
But I know none, and therefore am no beast.
Oh, wonderful when devils tell the truth.
More wonderful when angels are so angry. Vouchsafe divine perfection of a woman, of these supposed crimes to give me leave, by circumstance but to acquit myself.
Vouchsafe diffused infection of a man, of these known evils, but to give me leave by circumstance to curse thy cursed self.
Fairer than tongue can name thee, let me have some patient leisure to excuse myself.
Fouler than heart can think thee, thou canst make no excuse current but to hang thyself.
By such despair I should accuse myself.
And by despairing shalt thou stand accused for doing worthy vengeance on thyself that didst unworthy slaughter upon others.
Say that I slew them not.
And say they were not slain. But dead they are, and devilish slave by thee.
I did not kill your husband.
Why then, he is alive.
Nay, he is dead and slain by Edward's hands.
And thy foul throat thou liest. Queen Margaret saw this, thy murderers felching, smoking in his blood, that the which thou once didst bend against her breast, but that thy brothers beat aside the point.
I was provoked by her slanderous tongue that laid their guilt upon my guiltless shoulders.
Thou wast provoked by thy bloody mind. Thou'st that never dreamst on aught but butcheries. Didst thou not kill this king?
I grant you.
Don't grant me, hedgehog. Then God grant me too, thou mayest be damned for this wicked deed. He was mild, virtuous.
The better for the King of heaven that hath him.
He is in heaven, where thou shalt never go.
Let him thank me that hope to send him thither, for he was fitter for that place than earth.
and thou unfit for any place but hell.
Yes. One place else, if you will hear me name it.
Some dungeon.
Your bedchamber.
I'll rest beside the chamber where thou liest.
So will it, madam, till I lie with you.
I hope so.
I know so. But, gentle Lady Anne, to leave this keen encounter of our wits and fall something into a slower method is not the causer of the timeless deaths of these Plantagenets, Henry and Edward, as blameful as the executioner.
Hell was the cause and most accursed effect.
Your beauty was the cause of that effect. Your beauty that did haunt me in my sleep to undertake the death of all the world so I might live 1 hour in your sweet bosom.
If I thought that, I tell thee, homicide, these nails should rend that beauty from my cheeks.
These eyes could not endure that beauty's rack. You should not blemish it if I stood by. As all the world is cheered by the sun, so I by that. It is my day, my life.
Black night o'ershade thy day, and death thy life.
Curse not thyself, fair creature, thou art both.
I would I were, to be revenged on thee.
It is a quarrel most unnatural, to be revenged on him that loveth thee.
It is a quarrel just and reasonable to be revenged on him that killed my husband.
He that bereft thee, lady, of thy husband, did it to help thee to a better
His
husband.
better doth not breathe upon the earth.
He lives that loves thee better than he could.
Name him.
Plantagenet.
Why, that was he.
The selfsame name, but one of better nature.
Where is he?
Here. Why dost thou spit at me?
Would it were mortal poison for thy sake.
Never came poison from so sweet a place.
Never hung poison on a fouler toad. Out of my sight! Thou dost infect mine eyes.
Thine eyes, sweet lady, have infected mine.
Wouldst they were basilisk to strike thee dead?
I would they were, that I might die at once. For now they kill me with a living death. Those tears of thine from mine have drawn salt tears, shamed their aspects with store of childish drops. These eyes which never shed remorseful tear. No, when my father York and Edward wept to hear the piteous moan that Rutland made when black-faced Clifford shook his sword at him. Nor when thy warlike father, like a child, told the sad story of my father's death, and 20 times made pause to sob and weep, that all the slanders by had wet their cheeks like trees bedashed with rain. In that sad time, my manly eyes did scorn an humble tear. And what these sorrows could not thence exhale, thy beauty hath, and made them blind with weeping. I never sued to friend nor enemy. My tongue could never learn sweet, smoothing word. But now thy beauty is proposed my fee. My proud heart sues and prompts my tongue to speak. Teach not thy lips such scorn, for it was made for kissing, lady, not for such contempt. If thy revengeful heart cannot forgive, lo, here I lend thee this sharp-pointed sword, which if thou please to hide in this true breast, and let the soul forth that adoreth thee, I lay it naked to thy deadly stroke, and humbly beg the death upon my knee. Nay, do not pause, for I did kill King Henry. But 'twas thy beauty that provoked me. Nay, now dispatch! 'Twas I that stabbed young Edward, but 'twas thy heavenly face that set me on. Take up the sword again, or take up me.
Arise, dissembler. Though I wish thy death, I will not be thy executioner.
Then bid me kill myself, and I will do it.
I have already.
That was in rage. Speak it again, and even with the word, this hand, for which thy love did kill thy love, shall for thy love kill a far truer love. To both their deaths shalt thou be an accessory.
I would I knew thy heart.
'Tis figured in my tongue.
I fear me both are false.
There never was a man true.
Well, well. Put up your sword.
Say then my peace is made.
Thou shalt thou know hereafter.
But shall I live in hope?
All men I hope live so.
Vouchsafe to wear this ring.
To take is not to give.
Look how my ring encompasseth thy finger. Even so thy breast encloseth my poor heart. Wear both of them, for both of them are thine. And if thy poor devoted servant may but beg one favor at thy gracious hand, thou dost confirm his happiness forever.
What is it?
That it may please you leave these sad designs to him that hath most cause to be a mourner. And presently repair to Crosby House, where, after I have solemnly interned at Chertsey Monastery this noble king, and wet his grave with my repentant tears, I will, with all expedient duty, see you. For divers unknown reasons, I beseech you, grant me this boon.
With all my heart. And much it joys me too to see you are welcome, become so penitent. Trestle and Berkeley, go along with me.
Bid me farewell.
'Tis more than you deserve. But since you teach me how to flatter you, imagine I have said farewell already.
Anne exits. The beer is taken up.
Towards Chertsey, noble lord.
No, to Whitefriars. They attend my coming.
Halberds and gentlemen exit with the corpse.
Was ever woman in this humor wooed? Was ever woman in this humor won? I'll have her, but I will not keep her long. What that I killed her husband and her father, to take her in her heart's extremest hate, with curses in her mouth, tears in her eyes, the bleeding witness of my hatred, by having God her conscience, and these bars against me. And I no friends to back my suit at all, but the plain devil and dissembling looks, and yet to win her, all the world to nothing. Hath she forgot already that brave Prince Edward, her lord, whom I some 3 months since stabbed in my angry mood at Tewkesbury? A sweeter and lovelier gentleman, framed in the prodigality of nature, young, valiant, wise, and no doubt right royal, the spacious world cannot again afford. And will she yet abase her eyes on me? I cropped this golden prime of this sweet prince, and made her widow to a woeful bed. On me, who's not all equals Edward's moiety, on me, that halts and misshapen thus, my dukedom to a beggarly denier, I do mistake my person all this while. Upon my life, she finds, although I cannot myself, to be a marvelous proper man. I'll be at charges for a looking glass, and entertain a score or two of tailors to study fashions to adorn my body, since I am crept in favor with myself. I will maintain it with some little cost. But first, I'll turn yon fellow in his grave, and then return lamenting to my love. Shine out, fair sun, till I have bought a glass, that I may see my shadow as I pass.
He exits. Act 1, Scene 3. Enter Queen Elizabeth, the Lord Marquis of Dorset, Lord Rivers, and Lord Grey.
Have patience, madam. There's no doubt His Majesty will soon recover his accustomed health.
In that you book it ill, it makes him worse. Therefore, for God's sake, entertain good comfort, and cheer his grace with quick and merry eyes.
If he were dead, what would betide on me?
No other harm but loss of such a lord.
The loss of such a lord includes all harms.
The heavens have blessed you with a goodly son, to be your comforter when he is gone.
He is young, and his minority is put under trust of Richard Gloucester, a man that loves not me nor none of you.
Is it concluded he shall be protector?
It is determined, not concluded yet, but so it must be if the king miscarry.
Enter Buckingham and Lord Stanley, Earl of Derby.
Here comes the Lord of Buckingham and Derby.
Good time of day unto your royal grace.
God make your majesty joyful, as you have been.
The Countess Richmond, good my lord of Derby, to your good prayer would scarcely say amen. Yet, Derby, notwithstanding she's your wife and loves not me, be you, good lord, assured I hate not you for her proud arrogance.
I do beseech you either not believe the envious slanders of her false accusers, or if she be accused on true report, bear with her weakness, which I think proceeds from wayward sickness and no grounded malice.
Saw you the king today, my lord of Derby?
But now the Duke of Buckingham and I are come from visiting his majesty.
What likelihood of his amendment, lords?
Madam, good hope. His grace speaks cheerfully.
God grant him health. Did you confer with him?
Aye, madam. He desires to make atonement between the Duke of Gloucester and your brothers, and between them and my Lord Chamberlain, and sent to warn them to his royal presence.
Would all were well, but that will never be. I fear our happiness is at the height.
Enter Richard, Duke of Gloucester, with Hastings.
They do me wrong. I will not endure it. Who is it that complains unto the king that I, forsooth, am stern and love them not? By holy Paul, they love his grace but lightly, that fills his ears with such dissentious rumors. Because I cannot flatter and look fair, smile in men's faces, smooth, deceive, and cog, duck with French nose, and apish courtesy, I must be held a rancorous enemy. Cannot a plain man live and think no harm, but thus his simple truth must be abused with silk and sly insinuating jacks? And to who, in all this presence, speak I? To thee, that hast not nor honesty nor grace. When have I injured thee? When done thee wrong? Or thee? Or thee? Or any of your faction? A plague upon you all. His royal grace, whom God preserve better than you would wish, cannot be quiet, scarce a breathing while, but you must trouble him with lewd complaints.
Brother of Gloucester, you mistake the matter. The king, on his own royal disposition, and not provoked by any suitor else, aiming belike at your interior hatred that in your outward action shows itself against my children, brothers, and myself, makes him to send that he may learn the ground.
I cannot tell. The world is grown so bad that wrens make prey where eagles dare not perch. Since every jack became a gentleman, there's many a gentle person made a jack.
Come, come, we know your meaning, brother Gloucester. You envy my advancement and my friends. God grant we may never have need of you.
Meantime, God grants that we have need of you. Our brother is imprisoned by your means, myself disgraced, and the nobility held in contempt, while great promotions are daily given to ennoble those that scarce some 2 days since were worth a noble.
By him that raised me to this careful height, from that contented hap which I enjoyed, I never did incense his majesty against the Duke of Clarence, but have been an earnest advocate to plead for him. My lord, you do me shameful injury falsely to draw me in these vile suspects.
You may deny that you were not the mean of my Lord Hastings' late imprisonment.
She may, my lord, for...
She may, Lord Rivers. Why, who knows not so? She may do more, sir, than denying that. She may help you to many fair preferments, and then deny her aiding hand therein, and lay those honours on your high desert. What may she not? She may, aye, marry, may she?
What marry may she?
What marry, may she? Marry with a king, a bachelor, and a handsome stripling too. I wish your grandson had a worse match.
My lord of Gloucester, I have too long borne your blunt upbraidings and your bitter scoffs. By heaven, I will acquaint his majesty of these gross taunts that oft I have endured. I had rather be a country servant maid than a great queen with this condition, to be so baited, scorned, and stormed at.
Enter
Small-
Queen Margaret, apart from the others.
Small joy have I in being England's queen.
And lessened be that small, God, I beseech him. Thy honest state and seat is due to me.
Right, you me with telling of the king. Tell him and spare not. Look what I have said. I will have vouched in presence of the king. I dared venture to be sent to the tower. 'Tis time to speak. My pains are quite forgot.
Out, devil. I do remember them too well. Thou killedst my husband Henry at the Tower, and Edward my poor son at Tewkesbury.
Ere you were queen, I, or your husband king, I was a pack horse in his great affairs, a weeder out of his proud adversaries, a liberal rewarder of his friends. To royalize his blood, I spent mine own.
Aye, and much better blood than his or thine.
In all which time you and your husband Grey were factious for the house of Lancaster. And Rivers, so were you. Was not your husband in Margaret's battle at St. Albans slain? Let me put it in your minds, if you forget, what you have been ere this, and what you are, withal what I have been, and what I am.
A murderous villain, and still so thou art.
Poor Clarence did forsake his father Warwick. Aye, and forswore himself, which Jesu pardon.
God revenge.
To fight on Edward's party for the crown and for his meed, poor lord, he is mewed up. I would to God my heart were flint like Edward's, or Edward's soft and pitiful like mine. I am too childish, foolish for this world.
Fie thee to hell for shame, and leave this world, thou cacodemon. There thy kingdom is.
My lord of Gloucester, in these busy days which you here urge to prove us enemies, we follow then our lord, our sovereign king. So should we you, if you should be our king.
If I should be, I'd rather be a peddler. Far be it from my heart the thought thereof.
As little joy, my lord, as you suppose you should enjoy were you this country's king, as little joy you may suppose in me that I enjoy being the queen thereof.
As little joy enjoys the queen thereof, for I am she, and altogether joyless, I can no longer hold me patient. Hear me, you wrangling pirates that fall out in sharing that which you have pilled from me. Which of you trembles not that looks on me? If not that I am queen, you bow like subjects, yet that by you deposed, you quake like rebels. Gentle villain, do not turn away.
Foul wrinkled witch, what makest thou in my sight?
But repetition of what thou hast marred, that will I make before I let thee go.
Wert thou not banished on pain of death?
I was, but I do find more pain in my banishment than death can yield me here by my abode. A husband and a son thou owest to me, and thou a kingdom, all of you allegiance. This sorrow that I have by right is yours, and all the pleasures you usurp are mine.
The curse my noble father laid on thee when thou didst crown his warlike brows with paper, and with thy scorns drewst rivers from his eyes, and then to dry them gavest the duke a clout steeped in the faultless blood of pretty Rutland. His curses then, from bitterness of soul denounced against thee, are all fallen upon thee, and God, not we, hath plagued thy bloody deed.
So just is God to right the innocent.
Oh, 'twas the foulest deed to slay that babe, and the most merciless that ever was heard of.
Tyrants themselves wept when it was reported.
No man but prophesied revenge for it.
Northumberland, then present, wept to see it.
What? Were you snarling all before I came, ready to catch each other by the throat, and turn you all your hatred now on me? Did York's dread curse prevail so much with heaven, that Henry's death, my lovely Edward's death, their kingdom's loss, my woeful banishment, should all but answer for their peevish brat? Can curses pierce the clouds and enter heaven? Why then give way, dull clouds, to my dull curses. Though not by war, by surfeit die your king, as ours by murder to make him a king. Edward, thy son that now is Prince of Wales, for Edward, our son that was Prince of Wales, die in his youth by like untimely violence. Thyself a queen, for me that was a queen, outlive thy glory like my wretched self. Long mayst thou live to wail thy children's death, and see another, as I see now, decked in thy rights, as thou art stalled in mine. Long die thy happy days before thy death, and after many lengthened hours of grief, die neither mother, wife, nor England's queen. Rivers and Dorset, you were standers by, and so wast thou, Lord Hastings, when my son was stabbed with bloody daggers. God, I pray him that none of you may live his natural age, but by some unlooked accident cut off.
Have done thy charm, thou hateful withered bag.
And leave thee out. Stay, dog, for thou shalt hear me. If heaven have any grievous plague in store exceeding those that I can wish upon thee, oh, let them keep it till thy sins be ripe, and then hurl down their indignation on thee, the troubler of the poor world's peace. The worm of conscience will begnaw thy soul. Thy friends suspect for traitors while thou livest, and take deep traitors for thy dearest friends. No sleep close up that deadly eye of thine, unless it be while some tormenting dream affrights thee with a hell of ugly devils. Thou elvish marked abortive rooting hog, thou that wast sealed in thy nativity, the slave of nature and the son of hell, thou slander of thy heavy mother's womb, thou loathed issue of thy father's loins, thou rag of honor, thou detested
Margaret.
Richard, I call thee not.
I cry thee mercy then, for I did think that thou hadst called me all these bitter names.
Why, so I did, but looked for no reply. Oh, let me make the period to my curse.
'Tis done by me and ends in Margaret.
Thus you have breathed your curse against yourself.
Poor painted queen, vain flourish of my fortune, why strewest thou sugar on that bottled spider, whose deadly web ensnareth thee about? Fool, fool, thou whetst a knife to kill thyself. The day will come that thou shalt wish for me to help thee curse this poisonous back-punched toad.
False boding woman, end thy frantic curse, least to thy harm. Thou move our patience.
Foul shame upon you, you have all moved mine.
Were you well served, you will be taught your duty.
To serve me well, you all should do me duty. Teach me to be your queen, and you my subjects. Oh, serve me well, and teach yourselves that duty.
Dispute not with her, she is lunatic.
Peace, Master Marcus, you are malapert. Your fire new stamp of honor is scarce current. Oh, that your young nobility could judge that what 'twould to lose it and be miserable. That they that stand high have many blasts to shake them, and if they fall, they dash themselves to pieces.
Good counsel, Mary. Learn it, Marquis.
It touches you, my lord, as much as me.
Aye, and much more. But I was born so high. Our airy buildeth in the cedars' tops and dallies with the wind and scorns the sun.
And turns the sun to shade. Alas, alas, witness my son now in the shade of death, whose bright outshining beams thy cloudy wrath hath in eternal darkness folded up. Your eyrie buildeth in our Aries' nest. O God that seest it, do not suffer it. As it is one with blood, lost be it so.
Peace, peace, for shame, if not for charity.
Urge neither charity nor shame to me. Uncharitably with me have you dealt, and shamefully my hopes by you are butchered. My charity is outraged, life my shame, and in that shame still live my sorrow's rage.
Have done, have done.
Oh, princely Buckingham, I'll kiss thy hand in sign of league and amity with thee. Now fair befall thee and thy noble house. Thy garments are not spotted with our blood, nor thou within the compass of my curse.
nor no one here, for curses never pass the lips of those that breathe them in the air.
I will not think but they ascend the sky, and there awake God's gentle sleeping peace. Buckingham, take ye heed of yonder dog. Look, when he fawns, he bites, and when he bites, his venom tooth will rankle to the death. Have naught to do with him. Beware of him. Sin, death, and hell have set their marks on him, and all their ministers attend on him.
What does she say, my lord of Buckingham?
Nothing that I respect, my gracious lord.
What? Dost thou scorn me for my gentle counsel, and soothe the devil that I warn thee from? Oh, but remember this another day, when he shall split thy very heart with sorrow, and say poor Margaret was a prophetess. Live each of you the subjects to his hate, and he to yours, and all of you to God's.
He exits.
My hair doth stand an end to hear her curses.
So doth mine. I muse why she's at liberty.
I cannot blame her. By God's holy mother, she hath had too much wrong, and I repent my part thereof, that I have done to her.
I never did her any, to my knowledge.
Yet you have all the vantage of her wrong. I was too hard to do somebody good, that is too cold in thinking of it now. Mary, as for Clarence, he is well repaid. He is franked up to good fatting for his pains. God pardon them that are the cause thereof.
A virtuous and a Christian-like conclusion to pray for them have done scathe to us.
So do I ever. Being well advised, for I had cursed I had cursed myself.
Enter Catesby.
Madam, his majesty doth call for you, and for your grace, and yours, my gracious lords.
Catesby, I come. Lords, will you go with me?
We wait upon your grace.
All but Richard, Duke of Gloucester, exit.
I do the wrong, and first begin to brawl. The secret mischiefs that I set abroach, I lay unto the grievous charge of others. Clarence, who I indeed have cast in darkness, I do beweep to many simple Gauls, namely to Derby, Hastings, Buckingham, and tell them 'tis the Queen and her allies that stir the king against the Duke my brother. Now they believe it, and withal wet me to be revenged on Rivers, Dorset, Grey. But then I sigh, and with a piece of scripture tell them that God bids us do good for evil, and as I clothe my naked villainy with odd old ends stolen forth of holy writ, and seem a saint when I most play the devil.
Enter two murderers.
Ooh, but soft. Here come my executioners. How now, my hardy, stout, resolved mates? Are you now going to dispatch this thing?
We are, my lord. We come to have our warrant, that we may be admitted where he is.
Well thought upon. I have it here about me. Oh. When you have done, repair to Crosby Place. But, sirs, be sudden in the execution. With all obdurate, do not hear him plead. For Clarence is well spoken, and perhaps may move your hearts to pity if you mark him.
Tut, tut, my lord. We will not stand to prat. Talkers are no good doers. Be assured. We go to use our hands, not our tongues.
Your eyes drop millstones when fools' eyes fall tears. I like you, lads. About your business straight. Go. Dispatch.
We will, my noble lord.
We will, my noble lord.
They exit. Act 1, Scene 4. Enter Clarence and Brackenbury.
Why looks your grace so heavily today?
Oh, I have passed a miserable night, so full of fearful dreams, of ugly sights, that as I am a Christian faithful man, I would not spend another such night, though 'twere to buy a world of happy days. So full of dismal terror was the time.
What was your dream, my lord? I pray you tell me.
Methought I had broken from the tower and was embarked to cross the Burgundy. And in my company, my brother Gloucester, who from my cabin tempted me to walk upon the hatches. Thence we looked toward England and sighted up 1,000 heavy times during the wars of York and Lancaster that had befallen us. As we paced upon the giddy footing of the hatches, we thought that Gloucester stumbled, and in falling struck me that thought to stay him overboard into the tumbling billows of the main. What dreadful noise of waters in my ears, what sights of ugly death within my eyes. Methought I saw 1,000 fearful wracks, 1,000 men that fishes gnawed upon, wedges of gold, great anchors, heaps of pearl, inestimable stones, unvalued jewels, all scattered on the bottom of the sea. Some lay in dead men's skulls, and in the holes where eyes did once inhabit, there were crept, and were in scorn of eyes reflecting gems that wooed the slimy bottom of the deep and mocked the dead bodies that lay scattered by.
Had you such leisure in the time of death to gaze upon these secrets of the deep?
Thought I had, and often did I strive to yield to the ghost, but still the envious flood stopped in my soul and would not let it forth to find the empty, vast, and wandering air, but smothered it within my panting bulk, who almost burst to belch into the sea.
Await you not in this sore agony.
No, my dream was lengthened after life. And then began the tempest to my soul. I passed, methought, the melancholy flood with that sour ferryman which poets write of, until the kingdom of perpetual night. The first that there did greet my stranger soul was my great father-in-law, renowned Warwick, who spake aloud, "What scourge for perjury can this dark monarchy afford false Clarence?" So we vanished. Then came wandering by a shadow like an angel with bright hair dabbled in blood, and he shrieked out aloud, "Clarence is come, false, fleeting, perjured Clarence, that stabbed me in the fields by Tewkesbury. Seize on him, furies, take him unto torment." And with that, methought a legion of foul fiends environed me and howled in mine ears such hideous cries that were the very noise I trembled, waked. For a season after, could not believe but that I was in hell. Such terrible impressions made my dream.
No marvel, Lord, though it affrighted you. I am afraid, methinks, to hear you tell it.
Keeper, I have done these things that now give evidence against my soul for Edward's sake. And see how he requites me. Oh, God, my deep prayers cannot appease thee, but thou wilt be avenged of my misdeeds. You execute thy wrath in me alone. Spare my guiltless wife and my poor children. Keeper, I prithee, sit by me a while. My soul is heavy, and I would fain sleep.
I will, my lord. God give you good rest.
Clarence sleeps.
Sorrow breaks seasons and reposing hours, makes the night morning and the noontide night. Princes have but their titles for their glories, an outward honor for an inward toil, and for unfelt imaginations they often feel a world of restless cares, so that between their titles and low name there's nothing differs but the outward fame.
Enter two murderers.
Oh, who's here?
What wouldst thou, fellow? And how camest thou hither?
I would speak with Clarence, and I came hither on my legs.
What so brief?
'Tis better, sir, than to be tedious. Let him see our commission and talk no more.
I am in this commanded to deliver the noble Duke of Clarence to your hands. I will not reason what is meant hereby, because I will be guiltless from the meaning. There lies the Duke asleep, and there are the keys. I'll to the king and signify to him that I have resigned you my charge.
You may, sir. 'Tis a point of wisdom. Fare you well.
Dragonberry exits.
What? Shall I stab him as he sleeps?
No. He'll say 'twas done cowardly. When he wakes.
Why, he shall never wake until the great judgment day.
Why, then he'll say we stabbed him sleeping.
The urging of that word judgment hath bred a kind of remorse in me.
What? Art thou afraid?
Not to kill him, having a warrant, but to be damned for killing him, from which no warrant can defend me.
I thought thou hadst been resolute.
So I am, to let him live.
I'll back to the Duke of Gloucester and tell him so.
Nay, I prithee stay a little. I hope this passionate humor of mine will change. It was wont to hold me while one tells 20.
How dost that feel thyself now?
Faith, some certain dregs of conscience are yet within me.
Remember our reward when the deed is done.
Soon's he dies, I had forgot the reward.
Oh, where's thy conscience now?
Oh, in the Duke of Gloucester's purse.
When he opens his purse to give us our reward, thy conscience flies out.
'Tis no matter, let it go. There's few or none will entertain it.
What if it come to thee again?
Well, I'll not meddle with it. It makes a man a coward. Man cannot steal, but it accuseth him. Man cannot swear, but it checks him. A man cannot lie with his neighbor's wife, but it detects him. It is a blushing, shamefaced spirit that mutinies in a man's bosom, fills a man full of obstacles. Made me once restore a purse of gold that by chance I found. It beggars any man that keeps it. It is turned out of towns and cities for a dangerous thing, and every man that means to live well endeavors to trust to himself and live without it.
Zounds, 'tis even now at my elbow, persuading me not to kill the Duke.
Take the devil in thy mind and believe him not. He would insinuate with thee but to make thee sigh.
I am strong-framed. He cannot prevail with me.
Spoke like a tall man that respects thy reputation. Come, shall we fall to work?
Take him to the costard with the hilt of thy sword, and then throw him into the Malmsey butt in the next room.
Oh, excellent device. And make a sop of it.
Soft, he wakes.
Strike!
No. We'll reason with him.
Where art thou, keeper? Give me a cup of wine.
You shall have wine enough, my lord, anon.
In God's name, what art thou?
A man, as you are.
Not as I am royal.
Nor you, as we are, loyal.
Thy voice is thunder, but thy looks are humble.
My voice is now the king's. My looks mine own.
How darkly and how deadly dost thou speak. Your eyes do menace me. Why look you pale? Who sent you hither? Wherefore do you come?
To
You murder me.
Aye.
You scarcely have the hearts to tell me so, and therefore cannot have the hearts to do it. Wherein, my friends, have I offended you?
Offended us you have not, but the king.
I shall be reconciled to him again.
Never, my lord. Therefore, prepare to die.
Are you drawn forth among a world of men to slay the innocent? What is my offense? Where is the evidence that doth accuse me? What lawful quest has given their verdict up unto frowning judge? Or who pronounced the bitter sentence of poor Clarence's death? Before I be convict by course of law. To threaten me with death is most unlawful. I charge you, as you hope, to have redemption by Christ's dear blood shed for our grievous sins, that you depart and lay no hands on me. The deed you undertake is damnable.
What we will do, we do upon command.
And he that hath commanded is our king.
Oh yes, vassals, the great King of kings hath in his table of his law commanded that thou shalt do no murder. Wilt you then spurn at his edict and fulfill a man's? Take heed, for he holds vengeance in his hand to hurl upon the heads that break his law.
And that same vengeance doth he hurl on thee, for false forswearing and for murder too. Thou didst receive the sacrament of fight in quarrel of the house of Lancaster.
And, like a traitor to the name of God, didst break thou vow, and with thy treacherous blade unrippedst thy bowels from thy sovereign son,
whom thou wast sworn to cherish and defend.
How canst thou argue God's dreadful law to us, when thou hast broke it in such dear degree?
Alas, for whose sake I did that ill deed? For Edward, for my brother, for his sake. He sends you not to murder me for this, for in that sin he is as deep as I. If God would be avenged for the deed, oh, know you yet he doth it publicly. Take not the quarrel from his powerful arms, he needs no indirect or lawless course to cut off those that have offended him.
We made thee then a bloody minister. When gallant springing brave Plantagenet, that princely novice, has struck dead by thee?
My brother's love, the devil, and my rage.
Thy brother's love, our duty, and thy faults provoke us hither now to slaughter thee.
If you do love my brother, hate not me. I am his brother, and I love him well. If you are hired for meed, go back again, and I will send you to my brother Gloucester, who shall reward you better for my life than Edward will for tiding of my death.
You are deceived. God Gloucester hates you.
No, he loves me, and he holds me dear. Go you to him from me.
Aye, so we will.
Tell him with that our princely father York blessed his 3 sons with his victorious arm. He little thought of this divided friendship. Bid Gloucester think of this, and he will weep.
Aye, millstones, as he lessoned us to weep.
Do not slander him, for he is kind.
Right, as snow in harvest. Come, you deceive yourself. 'Tis he that sent us to destroy you here.
It cannot be. For he bewept my fortune and hugged me in his arms and swore with sobs that he would labor my delivery.
Why, so he doth, when he delivers you from this earth, thaldrum of the joys of heaven.
Make peace with God. You must die, my lord.
Have you that holy feeling in your souls to counsel me to make my peace with God? And are you yet to your own souls so blind that you will war with God by murdering me? Oh, sirs, consider that they that set you on to do this deed will hate you for this deed.
What shall we do?
Relent and save your souls. Which of you, if you were a prince's son, being pent from liberty as I am now, if 2 such murderers as yourself came to you, would not entreat for life, aye, you would beg. Were you in my distress?
Relent? No, 'tis cowardly and womanish.
Not to relent is beastly, savage, devilish. My friend, I spy some pity in thy looks. Oh, if thine eye be not a flatterer, come thou on my side and entreat with me A begging prince, what beggars pities not?
Look behind you, my lord.
Take that and that! If all this will not do, I'll drown you in the malmsey butt within.
They stab him. They exit with the body.
Bloody deed and desperately dispatched. How fain, like Pilate, would I wash my hands of this most grievous murder.
Re-enter the first murderer.
How now? What meanst thou that thou helpst me not? By heavens, the Duke shall know how slack you have been.
I would he knew that I had saved his brother. Take thou the fee, and tell him what I say, for I hint me that the Duke is slain.
He exits.
So do not I. Go, coward, as thou art. Well, I'll go hide the body in some hole. 'Tis that the Duke gave order of his burial. And why have my mead, I will away. For this will out, and then I must not stay.
He exits. End of Act 1. Act 2, Scene 1. Enter King Edward, Queen Elizabeth, the Lord Marquess Dorset, Rivers, Hastings, Buckingham, Woodville, Grey, and Scales.
Why so? Now have I done a good day's work. You peers, continue this united league. I every day expect an embassage for my Redeemer to redeem me hence. And more in peace my soul shall part to heaven, since I have made my friends at peace on earth. Rivers and Hastings, take each other's hand. Dissemble not your hatred. Swear your love.
By heaven, my soul is purged from grudging hate, and with my hand I seal my true heart's fate.
So thrive I, as I truly share the light.
Take heed you dally not before your king, lest he that is the supreme King of kings confound your hidden falsehood and award either of you to be the other's end.
So prosper I, as I swear, perfect love.
And I, as I love Hastings with my heart.
Madam, yourself is not exempt from this, nor you, son Dorset, Buckingham, nor you. You have been factious, one against the other. Wife, love Hastings. Let him kiss your hand, and what you do, do it unfeignedly.
There, Hastings, I will never more remember our former hatred. So thrive I and mine.
Dorset, embrace him. Hastings, love Lord Marquess.
This interchange of love, I here protest, upon my part shall be inviolable.
And so swear I.
Now, princely Buckingham, seal thou this league with thy embracements to my wife's allies, and make me happy in your unity.
Whenever Buckingham doth turn his hate upon your grace, but with all duteous love doth cherish you and yours, God punish me with hate in those where I expect most love, when I have most need to employ a friend, and most assured that he is a friend, deep, hollow, treacherous, and full of guile, be he unto me. This do I beg of God, when I am cold in love to you and yours.
A pleasing cordial, princely Buckingham. In this thy vow unto my sickly heart there warmeth now our brother Gloucester here, to make the blessed period of this peace.
And in good time here comes Sir Richard Ratcliffe and the Duke.
Enter Ratcliffe and Richard, Duke of Gloucester.
Good morrow to my sovereign king and queen, and princely peers, a happy time of day.
Happy indeed, as we have spent the day. Gloucester, we have done deeds of charity, made peace of enmity, fair love of hate, between these swelling, wrong-incensed peers.
Blessed labor, my most sovereign lord. Among this princely heap, if any, here by false intelligence or wrong surmise hold me a foe, if I unwittingly or in my rage have aught committed that is hardly borne by any in this presence, I desire to reconcile me to his friendly peace. 'Tis death to me to be at enmity. I hate it, and desire all good men's love. First, madam, I entreat true peace of you, which I will purchase with my duteous service. Of you, my noble cousin Buckingham, if ever any grudge were lodged between us, of you and you, Lord Rivers and of Dorset, that all without desert have frowned on me. Of you, Lord Woodville and Lord Scales, of you, dukes, earls, lords, gentlemen, indeed of all. I do not know that Englishmen alive with whom my soul is any jot at odds more than the infant that is born tonight. I thank God for my humility.
A holy day shall this be kept hereafter. I would to God all strifes were well compounded. My sovereign lord, I do beseech your highness to take our brother Clarence to your grace.
Why, madam, have I offered love for this to be so flouted in this royal presence? Who knows not that the gentle duke is dead? You do him injury to scorn his course.
Who knows not he is dead? Who knows he is?
All-seeing heaven, what a world is this?
Look I so pale, Lord Dorset, as the rest?
Ay, my good lord, and no man in the presence but his red colour hath forsook his cheeks.
Is Clarence dead? The order was reversed.
But he, poor man, by your first order died, and that a winged Mercury did bear. Some tardy cripple bare the countermand that came to lag to see him buried. God grant that some less noble and less loyal, nearer in bloody thought and not in blood, deserve not worse than wretched Clarence did, yet go current from suspicion.
Enter Lord Stanley, the Earl of Derby.
A boon, my sovereign, for my service done.
I prithee, peace. My soul is full of sorrow.
I will not rise unless your highness hear me.
Then say at once what it is thou request.
The forfeit, sovereign, of my servant's life, who slew today a riotous gentleman lately attendant on the Duke of Norfolk.
Have I a tongue to doom my brother's death? And shall that tongue give pardon to a slave? My brother killed no man. His fault was thought, and yet his punishment was bitter death. Who sued to me for him? Who in my wrath kneeled at my feet and bade me be advised? Who spoke of brotherhood? Who spoke of love? Who told me how the poor soul did forsake the mighty Warwick and did fight for me? Who told me in the field at Tewkesbury, when Oxford had me down, he rescued me and said, "Dear brother, live and be a king"? Who told me when we both lay in the field, frozen almost to death, how he did lap me even in his garments and did give himself, all thin and naked, to the dumb cold night? All this from my remembrance, brutish wrath, sinfully plucked, and not a man of you had so much grace to put it in my mind. But when your carters on your waiting vassals have done a drunken slaughter and defaced the precious image of our dear Redeemer, you straight are on your knees for pardon, and I, unjustly too, must grant it you. But for my brother, not a man would speak, nor I, ungracious, speak unto myself for him, poor soul. The proudest of you all have been beholding to him in his life, yet none of you would once beg for his life. Oh God, I fear thy justice will take hold on me and you and mine and yours for this. Come, Hastings, help me to my closet. Ah, poor Clarence.
King Edward, Queen Elizabeth, and others exit.
This is the fruits of rashness. Marked you not how that guilty kindred of the queen looked pale when they did hear of Clarence's death? Or they did urge it still unto the king. God will revenge it. Come, lords, will you go to comfort Edward with our company?
We wait upon your grace.
They exit. Act 2, Scene 2. Enter the Duchess of York with the 2 children of Clarence.
Good grandam, tell us, is our father dead?
No, boy.
Why do you weep so oft, and beat your breast, and cry, O Clarence, my unhappy son?
Why do you look on us and shake your head, and call us orphans, wretches, castaways, if that our noble father were alive?
My pretty cousins, you mistake me both. I do lament the sickness of the king, as loath were to lose him, not your father's death. It were lost sorrow to wail one that's lost.
Then you conclude, my grandam, he is dead. The king, mine uncle, is to blame for it. God will revenge it, whom I will importune with earnest prayers, all to that effect.
And so will I.
Peace, children, peace. The king doth love you well. In capable and shallow innocence, you cannot guess who caused your father's death.
Grandam, we can, for my good uncle Gloucester told me the king provoked to do it by the queen, devised impeachments to imprison him. And when my uncle told me so, he wept and pitied me and kindly kissed my cheek, bade me rely on him as my father, and he would love me as dearly as a child.
Ah, the deceit that should steal such gentle shape, and with a virtuous visor hide deep vice. He is my son, yea, and therein my shame. Yet from my dugs he drew not his deceit.
Think you my uncle did dissemble, grandam?
Ay, boy.
I cannot think it. Hark, what noise is this?
Enter Queen Elizabeth with Rivers and Dorset after her.
Ah, who shall hinder me to wail and weep, to chide my fortune and torment myself? I'll join with black despair against my soul, and to myself become an enemy.
What means the scene of rude impatience?
To make an act of tragic violence. Edward, my lord, thy son, our king, is dead. Why grow the branches when the root is gone? Why wither not the leaves that want their sap? If you will live, lament. If die, be brief, that our swift-winged souls may catch the king's, or, like obedient subjects, follow him to his new kingdom of ne'er-changing night.
Ah, so much interest have I in thy sorrow as I had title in thy noble husband. I have bewept a worthy husband's death and lived with looking on his images. But now 2 mirrors of his princely semblance are cracked in pieces by malignant death, and I, for comfort, have but one false glass that grieves me when I see my shame in him. Thou art a widow, yet thou art a mother, and hast the comfort of thy children left, but death hath snatched my husband from mine arms, and plucked 2 crutches from my feeble hands, Clarence and Edward. Oh, what cause have I? Thine being a moiety of my moan to overgrow thy woes and drown thy cries?
Aunt, you weep not for our father's death. How can we aid you with your kindred tears?
Our fatherless distress was left unmoaned. Your widowed dolour likewise be unwept.
Give me no help in lamentation. I am not barren to bring forth complaints. All springs reduce the currents to mine eyes, that I, being governed by the watery moon, may send forth plenteous tears to drown the world. Oh, for my husband, for my dear Lord Edward.
Ah, for our father, for our dear Lord Clarence.
Alas, for both, for mine, Edward and Clarence.
What stay had I but Edward, and he's gone?
What stay had we but Clarence, and he's gone?
What stays had I but they, and they are gone?
Was never widow had so dear a loss?
Were never orphans had so dear a loss?
Was never mother had so dear a loss? Alas, I am the mother of these griefs. Their woes are parcelled, mine is general. She for an Edward weeps, and so do I. I had a Clarence, for I had a Clarence. So doth not she. These babes for Clarence weep, and so do I, and I for Edward weep. So do not they. Alas, you 3, on me threefold distress, pour all your tears. I am your sorrow's nurse. and I will pamper it with lamentation.
Comfort, dear mother. God is much displeased that you take with unthankfulness his doing. In common worldly things, 'tis called ungrateful, with dull unwillingness to repay a debt which hath a bounteous hand which kindly lent. Much more to be thus opposite with heaven, for it requires the royal debt it lent you.
Madam, bethink you like a careful mother of the young prince, your son. Send straight for him, let him be crowned. In him your comfort lies. Drown desperate sorrow in dead Edward's grave, and plant your joys in living Edward's throne.
Enter Richard the Duke of Gloucester, with Buckingham, Lord Stanley, Earl of Derby, Hastings, and Ratcliffe.
Sister, have comfort. All of us have cause to wail the dimming of our shining star, but none can help our harms by wailing them. Madam, my mother, I do cry your mercy. I do not see your grace. Humbly on my knee, I crave your blessing.
God bless thee, and put meekness in thy breast, love, charity, obedience, and true duty.
Amen. And make me die a good old man. That is the butt end of a mother's blessing. I marvel that her grace did leave it out.
You cloudy princes and heart-sorrowing peers that bear this heavy mutual load of moan, now cheer each other in each other's love. We have spent our harvest of this king, and we are to reap the harvest of his son. The broken rancor of your high-swollen hates, but lately splintered, knit, and joined together, must gently be preserved, cherished, and kept. Me seemeth good that with some little train, forthwith from Ludlow the young prince be fet, hither to London, to be crowned our king.
Why with some little train, my lord of Buckingham?
Marry, my lord, lest by a multitude the new healed wound of malice should break out, which would be so much more the dangerous by how much the estate is green and yet ungoverned, where every horse bears his commanding rein, and may direct his course as please himself, as well of the fear of harm as harm apparent, in my opinion, ought to be prevented.
I hope the king made peace with all of us, and the compact is firm and true in me.
And so in me, and so I think in all. Since it is but green, it should be put to no apparent likelihood of breach, which haply by much company might be urged. Therefore I say with noble Buckingham that it is meet so few should fetch the prince.
And so say I.
Then be it so, and go we to determine who they shall be that straight shall post to Ludlow. Madam, and you, my sister, will you go to give your censures in this business?
All but Buckingham and Richard exit.
My lord, whoever journeys to the prince, for God's sake let not us two stay at home. For by the way, I'll sort occasion an index to the story we late talked of, to part the queen's proud kindred from the prince.
My other self, my council's consistory, my oracle, my prophet, my dear cousin, I, as a child, will go by thy direction, toward Ludlow then, for we will not stay behind.
They exit. Act 2, Scene 3. Enter one citizen at one door, and another at the other.
Good morrow, neighbor. Whither away so fast?
I promise you, I scarcely know myself. Hear you the news abroad?
Yes, that the king is dead.
Ill news, byre lady. Seldom comes the better. I fear 'twill prove a giddy world.
Enter another citizen.
Neighbors, Godspeed.
Give you good morrow, sir.
Doth the news hold of good King Edward's death?
Aye, sir, it is too true. God help the while.
Well, then, masters, look to see a troublous world.
No, no, by God's good grace his son shall reign.
Woe to that land that's governed by a child.
In him there is a hope of government, which in his nonage counsel under him, and in his full and ripened years himself, no doubt shall then and till then govern well.
So stood the state when Henry VI was crowned in Paris, but at 9 months old.
Stood the state so? Oh, no, good friends. God wot, for then this land was famously enriched with politic grave counsel, and the king had virtuous uncles to protect his grace.
Why, so hath this, both by his father and mother.
Better it were they all came by his father, or by his father there were none at all. For emulation, who shall now be nearest, will touch us all too near if God prevent not. Huh. Full of danger is the Duke of Gloucester, and the Queen's sons and brothers hot and proud. And were they to be ruled and not to rule, this sickly land might solace as before.
Come, come, we fear the worst. All will be well.
Then clouds are seen. Wise men put on their cloaks. When great leaves fall, then winter is at hand. When the sun sets, who doth not look for night? Untimely storms make men expect a dearth. All may be well, but if God sort it so, 'tis more than we deserve, or I expect.
Truly, the hearts of men are full of fear. You cannot reason almost with a man that looks not heavily and full of dread.
Before the days of change, still is it so. By a divine instinct, men's minds mistrust ensuing danger, as by proof we see the water swell before a boisterous storm. But leave it all to God. Whither away?
Marry, we were sent for to the justices.
And so was I. I'll bear you company.
They exit. Act 2, Scene 4. Enter the Archbishop, the young Duke of York, Queen Elizabeth, and the Duchess of York.
Last night, I hear, they lay at Stony Stratford, and at Northampton they do rest tonight. Tomorrow or the next day they will be here.
I long with all my heart to see the prince. I hope he is much grown since last I saw him.
But I hear no. They say my son of York has almost overtaken him in his growth.
Aye, mother, but I would not have it so.
Why, my good cousin? It is good to grow.
Grandam, one night as we did sit at supper, my uncle Rivers talked how I did grow more than my brother. Ay, quoth my uncle Gloucester, small herbs have grace, great weeds grow apace. And since methinks I would not grow so fast, because sweet flowers are slow, and weeds make haste.
Good faith, the saying did not hold in him that did object the same to thee. He was the wretchedest thing when he was young, so long and o'ergrowing, and so leisurely, that if his rule were true, he should be gracious.
And so no doubt he is, my gracious madam.
I hope he is, but yet let mothers doubt.
Now, by my troth, if I had been remembered, I could have given my uncle's grace a flout to touch his growth nearer than he touched mine.
How, my young York? I prithee let me hear it.
Marry, they say my uncle grew so fast that he could gnaw a crust at 2 hours old. 'Twas full 2 years ere I could get a tooth. Grandam, this would have been a biting jest.
Prithee, pretty York, who told thee this?
Grandam, his nurse.
His nurse? Why, she was dead ere thou wast born.
If 'twere not she, I cannot tell who told me.
A parlous boy, go to, you are too shrewd.
Good madam, be not angry with the child.
Pitchers have ears.
Enter a messenger.
Here comes a messenger. What news?
Such news, my lord, as grieves me to report.
How doth the prince?
Well, madam, and in health.
What is thy news?
Lord Rivers and Lord Grey are sent to Pomfret, and with them Sir Thomas Vaughan prisoners.
Who hath committed them?
The mighty Dukes Gloucester and Buckingham.
For what offense?
The sum of all I have disclosed. Why or for what the nobles were committed is all unknown to me, my gracious lord.
Ah me, I see the ruin of my house. The tiger now hath seized the gentle hind. Insulting tyranny begins to jut upon the innocent and all is thrown. Welcome destruction, blood, and massacre. I see, as in a map, the end of all.
Accursed and unquiet wrangling days. How many of you have my eyes beheld? My husband lost his life to get the crown, and often up and down my sons were tossed for me to joy and weep for their gain and loss. And being seated, and domestic broils clean overblown, themselves the conquerors make war upon themselves, brother to blood to blood, self against self. Oh, preposterous and frantic outrage, end thy damned spleen, or let me die to look on earth no more.
Come, come, my boy, we will to sanctuary. Madam, farewell.
Stay, I will go with you.
You have no cause.
My gracious lady, go, and thither bear your treasure and your goods. For my part, I'll resign unto your grace the seal I keep, and so betide to me as well I tender you and all of yours. Go, I'll conduct you to the sanctuary.
They exit. End of Act 2. Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Prince Edward, Richard the Duke of Gloucester, Buckingham, the Cardinal, Catesby, and others.
Welcome, sweet prince, to London to your chamber.
Welcome, my dear cousin, my thoughts sovereign. The weary way hath made you melancholy.
No, uncle, but our crosses on the way have made it tedious, wearisome, and heavy. I want more uncles here to welcome me.
Sweet prince, the untainted virtue of your years hath not yet dived into this world's deceit, nor more can you distinguish of a man than of his outward show, which, God he knows, seldom or never jumpeth with the heart. Those uncles which you want were dangerous. Your grace attended to their sugared words, but look not on the poison of their hearts. God keep you from them, and from such false friends.
God keep me from false friends, but they were none.
My lord, the Mayor of London comes to greet you.
Enter the Lord Mayor.
God bless your grace with health and happy days.
I thank you, good my lord, and thank you all. I thought my mother and my brother York would long ere this way have met us on the way. Fie, what a slug is Hastings that he comes not, to tell us whether they will come or no.
Enter Lord Hastings.
And in good time, here comes this wedding lord.
Welcome, my lord. What, will our mother come?
On what occasion, God, he knows, not I. The Queen, your mother, and your brother York would have taken sanctuary. The tender prince would fain have come with me to meet your grace, but by his mother was perforce withheld.
Aye, what an indirect and peevish course is this of hers. Lord Cardinal, will your grace persuade the Queen to send the Duke of York unto his princely brother presently? If she deny, Lord Hastings go with him, and from her jealous arm pluck him perforce.
My Lord of Buckingham, if my weak oratory can from his mother win the Duke of York, anon expect him here. But if she be obdurate to mild entreaties, God in heaven forbid we should infringe the holy privilege of blessed sanctuary. Not for all this land would I be guilty of so deep a sin.
You are too senseless obstinate, my lord, too ceremonious and traditional. Weigh it but with the grossness of this age. You break not sanctuary in seizing him. The benefit thereof is always granted to those whose dealings have deserved the place, and those who have the wit to claim the place. The prince hath neither claimed it nor deserved it, and therefore, in mine opinion, cannot have it. Then taking him from thence that is not there, you break no privilege nor charter there. Oft have I heard of sanctuary men, but sanctuary children? Never till now.
My lord, you shall o'errule my mind for once. Come on, Lord Hastings, will you go with me?
I go, my lord.
Good lords, make all the speedy haste you may.
The Cardinal and Hastings exit.
Say, Uncle Gloucester, if our brother come, where shall we sojourn till our coronation?
Where it seems best unto your royal self. If I may counsel you, some day or two your highness should repose you at the tower. Then, where you please, and shall be thought most fit for your best health and recreation.
I do not like the tower of any place. Did Julius Caesar build that palace, my lord?
He did, my gracious lord, begin that place, which since succeeding ages have reedified.
Is it upon record, or else reported, successively from age to age he built it?
Upon record, my gracious lord.
But say, my lord, it were not registered. Methinks the truth should live from age to age, as 'twere retailed to all posterity. even to the general all-ending day.
So wise, so young, they say, do never live long.
What say you, uncle?
Oh, I say, without characters, fame lives long. That's like the formal vice, iniquity. I moralize two meanings in one word.
Now, that Julius Caesar was a famous man. With what his valor did enrich his wit set down to make his valor live. Death makes no conquest of this conqueror, for now he lives in fame, though not in life. I'll tell you what, my cousin Buckingham.
What, my gracious lord?
And, if I live to be a man, I'll win our ancient right in France again, or die a soldier, as I lived a king.
Short summers lately have a forward spring.
Enter the young Duke of York with Hastings and the Cardinal.
Now, in good time, here comes the Duke of York.
Richard of York, how fares our loving brother?
Well, my dread lord, so must I call you now.
Aye, brother, to our grief, as it is yours. Too late he died that might have kept that title, which by his death hath lost much majesty.
How fares our cousin, noble lord of York?
I thank you, gentle uncle. Oh, my lord, you said that idle weeds are fast in growth. The prince, my brother, hath outgrown me far.
He hath, my lord.
And therefore is he idle?
Oh, my fair cousin, I must not say so.
Then he is more beholding to you than I.
He may command me as my sovereign, but you have power in me as a kinsman.
I pray you, uncle, give me this dagger.
Oh, my dagger, little cousin. With all my heart.
A beggar, brother?
Of my kind uncle that I know will give, and but being a toy, which is no grief to give.
A greater gift than that I'll give, my cousin.
A greater gift? Oh, that's the sword to it.
Aye, gentle cousin, were it light enough.
Oh, then I see you will part but with light gifts. In weightier things you'll say a beggar nay.
It is too heavy for your grace to wear.
I weigh it lightly, were it heavier.
What, would you have my weapon, little lord?
I would, that I might thank you as you call me. How? Little.
My lord of York will still be cross in talk. Uncle, your grace knows how to bear with him.
You mean to bear me, not to bear with me. Uncle, my brother mocks both you and me. Because that I am little, like an ape, he thinks that you should bear me on your shoulders.
Sharp, provided wit he reasons. To mitigate the scorn he gives his uncle, he prettily and aptly taunts himself. So cunning and so young is wonderful.
My lord, will it please you pass along? Myself and my good cousin Buckingham will to your mother to entreat of her to meet you at the tower and welcome you.
What? Will you go on to the tower, my lord?
My lord protector needs will have it so.
I shall not sleep in quiet at the tower.
Why, what should you fear?
Mary, my uncle Clarence' angry ghost. My granddam told me he was murdered there.
I fear no uncle's dead.
Nor none that live, I hope.
And if they live, I hope not need to fear. But come, my lord, with a heavy heart, thinking on them, go I unto the tower.
The princes and Hastings exit. Richard, Buckingham, and Catesby remain.
Think you, my lord, this little prating York was not incensed by his subtle mother to taunt and scorn you thus opprobriously?
No doubt, no doubt. Oh, 'tis a parlous boy, bold, quick, ingenious, forward, capable. He is all the mothers, from top to the toe.
Well, let them rest. Come hither, Catesby. Thou art sworn as deeply to effect what we intend as closely to conceal what we impart. Thou knowest our reasons urged upon the way. What thinkest thou? Is it not an easy matter to make William Lord Hastings of our mind for the installment of this noble duke in the seat royal of this famous isle?
He, for his father's sake, so loves the prince that he will not be one to aught against him.
What thinkst thou then of Stanley? Will not he?
He will do all in all his Hastings stuff.
Well then, no more but this. Go, gentle Catesby. And, as it were far off, send thou Lord Hastings, how he doth stand affected to our purpose, and summon him tomorrow to the tower, to sit about this coronation. If thou dost find him tractable to us, encourage him and tell him all our reasons. If he be leaden, icy, cold, unwilling, be thou so too, and break off the talk, and give us notice of his inclination, for we tomorrow hold divided councils, wherein thyself shalt highly be employed.
Commend me to Lord William. Tell him, Catesby, his ancient knot of dangerous adversaries tomorrow are let blood at Pomfret Castle. And bid, my lord, for joy of this good news, give Mistress Shaw one gentle kiss the more.
Good Catesby, go effect this business soundly.
My good lords both, with all the heed I can.
Shall we hear from you, Catesby, ere we sleep?
You shall, my lord.
At Crosby House, there you shall find us both.
Catesby exits.
Now, my lord, what shall we do if we perceive Lord Hastings will not yield to our complots?
Chop off his head. Something we will determine. And look, when I am king, claim thou of me the earldom of Hereford, and all the movables whereof the king my brother was possessed.
I'll claim that promise at your grace's hand.
And look to have it yielded with all kindness. Come, let us sup betimes, that afterwards we may digest our complots in some form.
They exit. Act 3, Scene 2. Enter a messenger to the door of Hastings.
My lord, my lord.
Who knocks?
One from Lord Stanley.
Oh, what is it o'clock?
Upon the stroke of 4.
Enter Lord Hastings.
Cannot my Lord Stanley sleep these tedious nights?
So it appears that I have to say. First he commands him to your noble self.
What then?
Then certifies your lordship that this night he dreamt the boar had raised off his helm. Besides, he says there were 2 councils kept, and that may be determined at the one which may make you and him rue, and at the other. Therefore he sends to you know your lordship's pleasure. If you are presently take horse with him, and with all speed post with him toward the north, to shun the danger that his soul divines.
Go, fellow, go. Return unto thy lord. Bid him not fear the separated council. His honour and myself are at the one, and at the other is my good friend Catesby, where nothing can proceed that touches us, whereof I shall not have intelligence. Tell him his fears are shallow, without instance, and for his dreams, I wonder he's so simple to trust the mockery of unquiet slumbers. To fly the boar before the boar pursues were to incense the boar to follow us and make pursuit, where he did not mean no chase. Go, bid thy master rise and come to me, and we will both together to the tower, where he shall see the boar will use us kindly.
I'll go, my lord, and tell him what you say.
Messenger exits as Catesby enters.
Many good morrows to my noble lord.
Good morrow, Catesby. You are early stirring. What news? What news in this our tottering state?
It is a reeling world indeed, my lord, and I believe we'll never stand upright till Richard wear the garland of the realm.
How? Wear the garland? Dost thou mean the crown?
Aye, my good lord.
I'll have this crown of mine cut from my shoulders before I see the crown so foul misplaced. But canst thou guess the depth he doth aim at?
Aye, on my life, and hopes to find you forward upon his party for the gain thereof. And thereupon he sends you this good news, that this same very day your enemies, the kindred of the queen, must die at Pomfret.
Indeed, I am no mourner for that news. because they have been still my adversaries. But that I'll give my voice on Richard's side to bar my master's heir in true descent, God knows I will not do it, to the death.
God keep your lordship in that gracious mind.
But I shall laugh at this a 12-month hence, that they which brought me in my master's hate, I love to look upon their tragedy. Well, Catesby, ere a fortnight make me older, I'll send some packing that yet think on it, not on it.
'Tis a vile thing to die, my gracious lord, when men are unprepared and look not for it.
Oh, monstrous, monstrous. And so falls it out with rivers Vaughan grey, and so 'twill to all, with some men else that think themselves as safe as thou and I, who, as thou knowest, are dear to princely Richard and to Buckingham.
The princes both make high account of you, but they account as head upon the bridge.
I know that they do, and I have well deserved it.
Enter Lord Stanley.
Come on, come on. Where is your boar spear, man? Fear you the boar and go so unprovided?
My lord, good morrow. And good morrow, Catesby. You may jest on, but by the holy rood, I do not like these several counsels.
My lord, I hold my life as dear as you do yours. I never in my days, I do protest, was it so precious to me as 'tis now. Think you that I know our state secure? I would be so triumphant as I am?
The lords at Pomfret, when they rode from London, were jocund and supposed their states for sure, and they had indeed no cause to mistrust. And yet you see how soon the day o'ercast. This sudden stab of rancour I misdoubt. Pray God, I say I prove a needless card. What, shall we toward the Tower? The day is spent.
Come, come, have with you what you want, my lord. Today the lords you talked of are beheaded.
They, for their truth, might better wear their heads than some that have accused them wear their hats. But come, my lord, let's away.
Enter a pursuivant.
Go on before. I'll talk with this good fellow.
Lord Stanley and Catesby exit.
How now, Sirrah? How goes the world with thee?
Your lordship pleased to ask.
I tell thee, man, 'tis better with me now than when thou metst me last, where now we meet. Then I was going prisoner to the Tower by the suggestion of the Queen's allies. But now, I tell thee, keep it to thyself. This day those enemies are put to death, and I in better state than ever I was.
God hold it to your honor's good content.
Gramercy, fellow, here, drink that for me.
I thank your honor.
Enter
Well
a
met,
priest.
my lord. Well met, my lord. I'm glad to see your honor.
I thank thee, good Sir John, with all my heart. I am in your debt for your last exercise. Come, the next Sabbath, I will content you.
I'll wait upon your lordship.
The priest exits as Buckingham enters.
What, talking with a priest, Lord Chamberlain? Your friends at Pomfret, they do need the priest. Your honor hath no striving work in hand.
Good faith. And when I met this holy man, the men you talk of came into my mind. What, go you toward the Tower?
I do, my lord, but long I cannot stay there. I shall return before your lordship thence.
Nay, like enough, for I stay dinner there.
And supper too, although thou knowest it not. Come, will you go?
I'll wait upon your lordship.
They exit. Act 3, Scene 3. Enter Sir Richard Ratcliffe with halberds, carrying the nobles Rivers, Grey, and Vaughan to death at Pomfret.
Sir Richard Ratcliffe, let me tell thee this. Today shalt thou behold a subject die for truth, for duty, and for loyalty.
God bless the prince from all the pack of you, and not you are damned bloodsuckers.
You live that shall cry woe for this hereafter.
Dispatch, the limit of your lives is out.
Oh, Pomfret, Pomfret, oh, thou bloody prison, fatal and ominous to noble peers. Within the guilty closure of thy walls, Richard II here was hacked to death. And for more slander to thy dismal seat, we give to thee our guiltless blood to drink.
And now Margaret's curse is falling upon our heads, when she exclaimed on Hastings, you and I, for standing by when Richard stabbed her son.
Then cursed she Richard, then cursed she Buckingham, then cursed she Hastings. Oh, remember, God, to hear her prayer for them as now for us. For my sister and her princely sons, be satisfied, dear God, with our true blood, which, as thou knowest, unjustly must be spilt.
Make haste. The hour of death is expiate.
Come, Grey, come, Vaughan, let us here embrace. Farewell until we meet again in heaven.
They exit. Act 3, Scene 4. Enter Buckingham, Lord Stanley, Earl of Derby, Hastings, the Bishop of Ely, Norfolk, Ratcliffe, Lovell, with others at a table.
Now, noble peers, the cause why we are met is to determine of the coronation. In God's name speak. When is the royal day?
Is all things ready for the royal time?
It is and wants but nomination.
Tomorrow, then, I judge a happy day.
Who knows the Lord Protector's mind herein? Who is the most inward with the noble Duke?
Your Grace, we think, should soonest know his mind.
We know each other's faces for our hearts. He knows no more of mine than I of yours, or I of his, my lord, than you of mine. Lord Hastings, you and he are near in love.
I thank his grace. I know he loves me well, but for his purpose in the coronation I have not sounded him, nor he delivered his gracious pleasure any way therein. But you, my noble lords, may name the time, and in the Duke's behalf I'll give my voice, which I presume he'll take in gentle part.
In happy time, here comes the Duke himself.
My noble lords and cousins, all good morrow. I have been a long sleeper, but I trust my absence doth neglect no great design by which my presence might have been concluded.
Had you not come upon your cue, my lord, William Lord Hastings had pronounced your part. I mean, your voice for crowning of the king.
Then, my lord Hastings, no man might be bolder. His lordship knows me well and loves me well. My lord of Ely, when I was last in Holborn, I saw good strawberries in your garden there. I do beseech you, send for some of them.
Marry and will, my lord, with all my heart.
Cousin of Buckingham, a word with you. Catesby hath sounded Hastings in our business, and finds the testy gentleman so hot that he will lose his head ere give consent. His master's child, as worshipfully as he terms it, shall lose the royalty of England's throne.
Withdraw yourself a while. I'll go with you.
Richard and Buckingham exit.
We have not yet set down this day of triumph. Tomorrow, in my judgment, is too sudden, for I myself am not so well provided, as else I would be were the day prolonged.
Where is my lord the Duke of Gloucester? I have sent for these strawberries.
His grace looks cheerfully and smooth this morning. There's some conceit or other likes him well, when that he bids good morrow with such spirit. I think there's never a man in Christendom can lesser hide his love or hate than he, for by his face straight you shall know his heart.
What of his heart perceive you in his face, by any livelihood he showed today?
Marry, that with no man here he is offended, for were he would have shown it in his looks.
Enter Richard and Buckingham.
I pray you all tell me what they deserve that do conspire my death with devilish plot and damned witchcraft, and that have prevailed upon my body with their hellish charms.
The tender love I bear your grace, my lord, makes me most forward in this princely presence to doom the offenders, whoever they be. I say, my lord, they have deserved death.
Then be your eyes the witness of their evil. Look how I am bewitched. Behold, mine arm is like a blasted sapling withered up. And this is Edward's wife, that monstrous witch, consorted with that harlot strumpet Shaw, that by their witchcraft hath thus marked me.
If they have done this deed, my noble lord.
If thou protector of this damned strumpet, talkst thou to me of ifs? Thou art a traitor. Off with his head. Now, by St. Paul, I swear I will not dine until I see the same. Lovell and Ratcliffe, look that it be done. The rest that love me, rise and follow me.
They exit. Lovell and Ratcliffe remain with Lord Hastings.
Woe! Woe for England! Not a whit for me, for I, too fond, might have prevented this. Oh, Stanley did dream the boar did raise his helm, and I did scorn it and disdain to fly. 3 times today my footcloth horse did stumble, and then started when he looked upon the tower, was loath to bear me to the slaughterhouse. And now I need the priest that spake to me. Now repent, I told the pursuivant, as too triumphing how my enemies today at Pomfret bloodily were butchered, and I myself secure in grace and favour. Oh, Margaret, Margaret, now thy heavy curse is lighted on Paul Hastings' wretched head.
Come, come, dispatch. The Duke would be at dinner. Make it short shrift. He longs to see your head.
Oh, momentary grace of mortal men, which we more hunt for than the grace of God. Who builds his hope in air of your good looks lives like a drunken sailor on a mast, ready with every nod to tumble down into the fatal bowels of the deep.
Come, come, dispatch. 'Tis bootless to exclaim.
Bloody Richard! Miserable England! I prophesy the fearfulest time to thee that ever wretched age have looked upon. Come, lead me to the block. Bear him my head. They smile at me, he shortly shall be dead.
They exit. Act 3, Scene 5. Enter Richard and Buckingham.
Come, cousin, canst thou quake and change thy colour, murder thy breath in the middle of a word, and then again begin and stop again, as if thou wert distraught and mad with terror?
But I can counterfeit the deep tragedy and speak and look back and pry on every side, tremble and start a wagging of the straw, intending deep suspicion. Ghastly looks are at my service, like enforced smiles, and both are ready in their offices at any time to grace my stratagems. But what, is Catesby gone?
He is, and see he brings the mayor along.
Enter the mayor and Catesby.
Lord Mayor.
Look to the drawbridge there.
Hark, a drum.
Catesby, oh, look the walls.
Catesby exits.
Lord Mayor, the reason we have sent.
Look back, defend thee, here are enemies.
God and our innocence, defend and guard us.
Enter Lovell and Ratcliffe with Hastings' head.
Be patient. They are friends, Ratcliffe and Lovell.
Here's the head of the ignoble traitor, the dangerous and unsuspected Hastings.
So dear I love the man, I must weep. I took him for the plainest, harmless creature that breathed upon the earth of a Christian. Made him by my book, wherein my soul recorded the history of all his secret thoughts. So smooth he daubed his voice with show of virtue. His apparent open guilt omitted. His conversation with Shaw's wife. He lived from all attainder of suspects.
Well, well, he was the covetous, sheltered traitor that ever lived. Would you imagine or almost believe were not that by the great preservation we live to tell it, that the subtle traitor this day had plotted in the council house to murder me and my good lord of Gloucester?
Had he done so?
What, think you we are Turks or infidels? Or that we ruled against the form of law proceed thus rashly in the villain's death, but that the extreme peril of the case, the peace of England and our person's safety, enforced us to this execution?
Now fair befall you, he deserved his death, and your good graces both have well proceeded to warn false traitors from the like attempts.
I never looked for better at his hands after he once fell in with Mistress Shore. Yet had we not determined he should die until your lordship came to see his end, which now the loving haste of these our friends, something against our meanings, have prevented. But, my lord, I would have had you heard the traitor speak and timorously confess the manner and the purpose of his treasons, that you might well have signified the same unto the citizens who haply may miscounter us in him, and wail his death.
But, my good lord, your grace's words shall serve, as well as I had seen and heard him speak. And do not doubt, right noble princes both, but I'll acquaint our duteous citizens with all your just proceedings in this case.
And to that end we wished your lordship here, to avoid the censures of the carping world.
Which, since you come too late of our intent, yet witness what you here we did intend. And so, my good Lord Mayor, we bid farewell.
Mayor exits.
Go after, cousin Buckingham. Go after. The mayor towards the Guildhall hies him in all posts. There at your meet's vantage of the time, and further bastardy of Edward's children. Tell them how Edward put to death a citizen only for saying he would make his son heir to the crown, meaning indeed his house, which by the sign thereof was termed so. Moreover, urge his hateful luxury and bestial appetite and change of lust, which stretched unto the servants' daughters, wives, even where his raging eye or savage heart without control lusted to make a prey. Nay, for a need thus far come near my person. Tell them, when that my mother went with child of that insatiate Edward, noble York, my princely father, then had wars in France, and by true computation of the time, found that the issue was not his begot, which well appeared in his lineaments, being nothing like the noble duke my father, yet touched this sparingly as to a far off, because, my lord, you know my mother lives.
Doubt not, my lord, I'll play the orator, as if the golden fee for which I plead were for myself. And so, my lord, adieu.
If you thrive well, bring them to Baynard's Castle, where you shall find me well accompanied with reverend fathered and well-learned bishops.
I go, and towards 3 or 4 o'clock look for the news that the Guildhall affords.
Buckingham exits.
Go, Lovell, with all speed to Dr. Shah. Go thou to Friar Penker. Bid them both meet me within this hour at Baynard's Castle.
Ratcliffe and Lovell exit.
Now will I go to take some privy order to draw the brats of Clarence out of sight, and to give order that no manner of person have any time recourse unto the princes.
He exits. Act 3, Scene 6. Enter a scrivener. Here is the indictment of the good Lord Hastings.
Good Lord Hastings, which in a set hand fairly is engrossed, that it may be today read o'er in pulls, and mark how well the sequel hangs together. 11 hours I have spent to write it over, for yesternight by Catesby was it sent me. The precedent was full as long a-doing, and yet within these 5 hours Hastings lived, untainted, unexamined, free, at liberty. Here's a good world the while. Who is so gross that cannot see this palpable device? Yet who so bold but says he sees it not? Bad is the world, and all will come to naught when such ill dealing must be seen in thought.
He exits. Act 3, Scene 7. Enter Richard and Buckingham.
How now, how now? What say the citizens?
Now, by the Holy Mother of our Lord, the citizens are mum, say not a word.
Touched you the bastardy of Edward's children?
I did. With his contract with Lady Lucy and his contract by deputy in France, the insatiate greediness of his desire, and his enforcement of the city wives, his tyranny for trifles, his own bastardy as being got your father than in France, and his resemblance being not like the Duke, with all I did infer your lineaments, being the right idea of your father, both in your form and nobleness of mind, laid open all your victories in Scotland, your discipline in war, wisdom in peace, your bounty, virtue, fair humility. Indeed, left nothing fitting for your purpose, untouched or slightly handled in discourse. And when mine oratory drew toward end, I bid them that did love their country's good cry, God save Richard, England's royal king.
And did they so?
No. So God help me, they spake not a word, but like dumb statues or breathing stones, stared on each other, and looked deadly pale. Which when I saw, I reprehended them, and asked the mayor what meant this willful silence. His answer was, the people were not used to being spoke to but by the recorder. Then he was urged to tell my tale again. Thus saith the Duke, thus hath the Duke inferred, but nothing spoke in warrant from himself. When he had done, some followers of mine own at the lower end of the hall hurled up their caps, and some 10 voices cried, God save King Richard. And thus I took the vantage of those few. Thanks, gentle citizens and friends, quoth I. This general applause and cheerful shout argues your wisdom and your love to Richard. And even here brake off and came away.
What tongueless blocks were they? Why'd they not speak? Will not the mayor then and his brethren come?
The mayor is here at hand. Tend some fear, be not you spoke with but by mighty suit. And look, you get a prayer book in your hand, and stand between 2 churchmen, good my lord. For on that ground I'll make a holy descant, and be not easily won to our requests. Play the maid's part, still answer nay, and take it.
I go, if you plead as well for them as I can say nay to thee for myself. No doubt we bring it a happy issue.
Go, up to the leads. The Lord Mayor knocks.
Richard exits. Enter the mayor and citizens.
Welcome, my lord. I dance attendance here. I think the Duke will not be spoke withal.
Enter Catesby.
Now, Catesby, what says your lord to my request?
He doth entreat your grace, my noble lord, to visit him tomorrow or next day. He is within, with 2 right reverend fathers, divinely bent to meditation, and in no worldly suits would he be moved to draw him from his holy exercise.
Return, good Catesby, to the gracious Duke. Tell him myself, the mayor and aldermen, in deep designs, in matters of great moment, no less importing than our general good, are come to have some conference with his grace.
I'll signify so much unto him straight.
He exits.
Ha! My lord, this prince is not an Edward. He is not lolling on a lewd love bed, but on his knees at meditation. Not dallying with a brace of courtesans, but meditating with 2 deep divines. Not sleeping to engross his idle body, but praying to enrich his watchful soul. Happy were England would this virtuous prince take on his grace the sovereignty thereof. But sure I fear we shall not win him to it.
Marry, God defend his grace should say us nay.
I fear he will. Here's Catesby comes again.
Enter Catesby.
Now, Catesby, what says his grace?
He wonders to what end you have assembled such troops of citizens to come to him, his grace not being warned thereof before. He fears, my lord, you mean no good to him.
Sorry I am, my noble cousin, should suspect me that I mean no good to him. By heaven, we come to him in perfect love, and so once more, return and tell his grace.
Catesby exits.
When holy and devout religious men are at their beads, 'tis much to draw them thence, so sweet is zealous contemplation.
Enter Richard aloft between two bishops. Catesby re-enters.
See where his grace stands between two clergymen.
Two props of virtue for a Christian prince, to stay him from the fall of vanity, and see a book of prayer in his hand, true ornaments to know a holy man. Famous Plantagenet, most gracious prince, lend favorable ear to our requests, and pardon us the interruption of thy devotion and right Christian zeal.
My lord, there needs no such apology. I do beseech your grace to pardon me, who, earnest in the service of my God, deferred the visitation of my friends. But leaving this, what is your grace's pleasure?
Even that, I hope, which pleaseth God above, and all good men of this ungoverned isle.
I do suspect I have done some offence that seems disgracious in the city's eye, and that you come to reprehend my ignorance.
You have, my lord. Would it please your grace, on our entreaties, to amend your fault?
Else wherefore breathe I in a Christian land?
No, then, it is your fault that you resign the supreme seat, the throne majestical, the sceptred office of your ancestors, your state of fortune, and your due of birth, that the lineal glory of your royal house, to the corruption of a blemished stock, whilst in the mildness of your sleepy thoughts, which here we waken to our country's good, the noble isle doth want her proper limbs, her face defaced with scars of infamy, her royal stock graft with ignoble plants, and almost shouldered in the swallowing gulf of dark forgetfulness and deep oblivion, which to recure with heartily solicit your gracious self to take on you the charge as kingly government of this your land, not as protector, steward, substitute, or lowly factor for another's gain, but as successively from blood to blood your right of birth, your empery, your own for this consorted with the citizens, your very worshipful and loving friends, and by their vehement instigation in the just cause come I to move your grace.
I cannot tell if to depart in silence or bitterly to speak in your reproof best fitteth my degree or your condition. If not to answer, you might happily tongue-tied ambition, not replying, yielded to bear the golden yoke of sovereignty, which fondly you would here impose on me. If to reprove you for this suit of yours so seasoned with your faithful love to me, then on the other side I checked my friends, therefore to speak and to avoid the first, and then, in speaking, not to incur the last. Definitively thus I answer you. Your love deserves my thanks, but my desert unmeritable shuns your high request. First, if all obstacles were cut away, and that my path were even to the crown, as the ripe revenue and due of birth, yet so much is my poverty of spirit, so mighty and so many my defects, that I would rather hide me from my greatness, being a bark to brook no mighty sea, than in my greatness covet to be hid, and in the vapor of my glory smothered. But God be thanked, there is no need of me, and much I need to help you, were there need. The royal tree hath left us royal fruit, which, mellowed by the stealing hours of time, will well become the seat of majesty, and make, no doubt, us happy by his reign. On him I lay that you would lay on me the right and fortune of his happy stars, which God defend that I should wring from him.
My lord, this argues conscience in your grace, but the respects thereof are nice and trivial. All circumstances well considered, you say that Edward is your brother's son. So say we too, but not by Edward's wife. For first he was contract to Lady Lucy. Your mother lives a witness to his vow, and afterward by substitute betrothed to Bona, sister of the King of France. These both put off a poor petitioner, a care-crazed mother to many sons, a beauty waning of distressed widow, even in the afternoon of her best days, made prize and purchase of his wanton eye, seduced the pitch and height of his degree to base declension and loathed bigamy. By her and his unlawful bed he got this Edward, whom our manners call the Prince. More bitterly could I expostulate, save that, for reverence to some alive, I gave a sparing limit to my tongue. Then, good my lord, take to your royal self this proffered benefit of dignity, if not to bless us and the land withal, yet to draw forth your noble ancestry from corruption of abusing times into a lineal, true derived course.
Do good, my lord. Your citizens entreat you.
Refuse not, mighty lord, this proffered love.
Oh, make them joyful. Grant their lawful suit.
Alas, why would you heap this care on me? I am unfit for state and majesty. I do beseech you. Take it not amiss. I cannot, nor I will not yield to you.
If you refuse it, as in love and zeal, loath to depose the child, your brother's son, as well we know your tenderness of heart, as gentle, kind, effeminate remorse, which we have noted in you to your kindred, and equally indeed to all estates. Yet know, where'er you accept our suit or no, your brother's son shall never reign our king. We will plant some other in the throne, to the disgrace and downfall of your house, and in this resolution here we leave you. Come, citizens. Zoons, I'll entreat no more.
Do not swear, my lord of Buckingham.
Buckingham and some others exit.
Call him again, sweet prince. Accept their suit. If you deny them, all the land will rue it.
Will you enforce me to a world of cares? Call them again. I am not made of stones, but penetrable to your kind entreaties, albeit against my conscience and my soul.
Enter Buckingham and the rest.
Cousin of Buckingham and sage Graveman, since you will buckle fortune on my back to bear her burden where I will or no, I must have patience to endure the load. But if black scandal or foul-faced reproach attend the sequel of your imposition, your mere enforcement shall acquittance me from all the impure blots and stains thereof. For God doth know, and you may partly see how far I am from the desire of this.
God bless your grace. We see it and will say it.
In saying so, you shall but say the truth.
Then I salute you with this royal title. Long live Richard, England's worthy king.
Amen.
Amen.
Tomorrow may it please you to be crowned?
Even when you please, for you will have it so.
Tomorrow then we will attend your grace, and so most joyfully we take our leave.
Come, let us to our holy work again. Farewell, my cousin. Farewell, gentle friends.
They exit. End of Act 3. Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Queen Elizabeth with the Duchess of York, the Lord Marquis of Dorset at one door, and the Duchess of Gloucester with Clarence's daughter at another door.
Who meets us here? My niece Plantagenet led in the hand of her kind heart of Gloucester. Now for my life she's wandering to the tower on pure heart's love to greet the tender prince. Daughter, well met.
God give your graces both a happy and joyful time of day.
As much to you, good sister. Whither away?
No fire, and as I guess, upon the like devotion as yourselves, to gratulate the gentle princes then.
Kind sister, thanks. We'll enter all together.
Enter Brackenbury.
And in good time here the lieutenant comes. Master Lieutenant, pray you, by your leave, how doth the prince and my young son of York?
Right well, dear madam. By your patience, I may not suffer you to visit them. The king has strictly charged the contrary.
The king? Who's that?
I mean, the Lord Protector.
The Lord protect him from that kingly title. Hath he set bounds between their love and me? I am their mother. Who shall bar me from them?
I am their father's mother. I will see them.
Their aunt I am in law, in love their mother. They bring me to their sights. I'll bear thy peril, I'll bear thy blame, and take thy office from thee on my peril.
No, madam, no. I may not leave it so. I am bound by oath, and therefore, pardon me.
Brackenbury exits as Stanley enters.
Let me but meet you ladies 1 hour hence, and I'll salute your Grace of York as mother and reverend looker-on of 2 fair queens. Come, madam, you must straight to Westminster, there to be crowned Richard's royal queen.
Cut my lace asunder, that my pent heart may have some scope to beat, or else I swoon with this dead-killing news.
Spiteful tidings. Oh, unpleasing news.
You've good cheer, mother. How fares your grace?
Oh, Dorset, speak not to me. Get thee gone. Death and destruction dogs thee at thy heels. Thy mother's name is ominous to children. If thou wilt outstrip death, go, cross the seas, and live with Richmond from the reach of hell. Go, hie thee from the slaughterhouse, lest thou increase the number of the dead and make me die the thrall of Margaret's curse. Nor mother, wife, nor England's counted queen.
Full of wise care is this your counsel, madam. Take all the swift advantage of the hours. You shall have letters from me to my son in your behalf, to meet you on the way. Be not ta'en tardy by unwise delay.
O ill dispersing wind of misery! O my accursed womb, the bed of death! A cockatrice hast thou hadst to the world, whose unavoided eye is murderous.
Come, madam, come. I in all haste was sent.
And I with all unwillingness will go. Oh, would to God that the inclusive verge of golden metal that must round my brow were hot red steel to sear me to the brains. Anointed let me be with deadly venom, and die ere men can say, God save the queen.
Go, go, poor soul, I envy not thy glory. To feed my humour, wish thyself no harm.
No? Why? When he that is my husband now came to me as I followed Henry's course, when scarce the blood was well washed from his hands, which issued from my other angel husband, and that dear saint, which when I weeping followed, when I say I looked on Richard's face, this was my wish, be thou quoth I accursed for making me so young, so old a widow. And when thou wouldst let sorrow haunt thy bed, and be thy wife, if any be so mad, more miserable what a life of thee than thou hast made me by my dear Lord's death. Lo, ere I can repeat this curse again, within so small a time my woman's heart grossly grew captive to his honey words, and proved the subject of mine own soul's curse, which hitherto hath held my eyes from rest, for never yet 1 hour in his bed did I enjoy the golden dew of sleep, but with his timorous dreams was still awake. Besides, he hates me for my father Warwick, and will no doubt shortly be rid of me.
Poor heart, adieu. I pity thy complaining.
No more than with my soul I mourn for yours.
Farewell, thou woeful welcomer of glory.
Adieu, poor soul that takes thy leave of it.
Go thou to Richmond, and good fortune guide thee. Go thou to Richard, and good angels tend thee. Go thou to sanctuary, and good thought possess thee. I to my grave, where peace and rest lie with me. 80 odd years of sorrow have I seen, and each hour's joy racked with a week of teen.
Stay, yet look back with me unto the tower. Pity, you ancient stones, these tender babes who envy hath immured within your walls. Rough cradle for such pretty little ones. Rude ragged nurse, old sullen playfellow for tender princes. Use my babies well, so foolish sorrows bid your stones farewell.
They exit. Act 4, Scene 2. Enter Richard in pomp. Buckingham, Catesby, Ratcliffe, Lovell, and others, including a page.
Stand all apart, cousin of Buckingham.
My gracious sovereign.
Give me thy hand. Thus high by thy advice and thy assistance is King Richard seated. But shall we wear these glories for a day, or shall they last, and we rejoice in them?
Still live they, and forever let them last.
Buckingham, now do I play the touch, to try if thou be current gold indeed. Young Edward lives. Think now what I would speak.
Say on, my living lord.
Why, Buckingham, I say I would be king.
Why, you are so, my thrice renowned lord.
Am I king? 'Tis so, but Edward lives.
True, noble prince.
Bitter consequence that Edward should still live, true noble prince. Cousin, thou wast not wont to be so dull. Shall I be plain? I wish the bastards dead. And I would have it suddenly performed. What sayest thou now? Speak suddenly, be brief.
Your grace may do your pleasure.
What thou art all ice, thy kindness freezes. Say, have I thy consent that they shall die?
Give me some little breath, some pause, dear lord, before I positively speak in this. I will resolve you herein presently.
Buckingham exits.
King is angry. See, he gnaws his lip.
I will converse with iron-witted fools and unrespective boys. None are for me that look into me with considerate eyes. High-reaching Buckingham grows circumspect. Boy!
My lord?
Knowest thou not any whom corrupting gold will tempt unto a close exploit of death?
I know a discontented gentleman, whose humble means match not his haughty spirit. Gold were as good as 20 orators, and will, no doubt, tempt him to anything.
What is his name?
His name, my lord, is Tyrrell.
I partly know the man. Go, call him hither, boy.
The page exits.
Deep revolving witty Buckingham no more shall be the neighbour to my counsels. Hath he so long held out with me, untired, and stops he now for breath? Well, be it so.
Enter Stanley.
How now, Lord Stanley? What's the news?
No, my loving lord. The Marquis Dorset, as I hear, is fled to Richmond, in the parts where he abides.
Come hither, Catesby. Rumoured abroad that Anne, my wife, is very grievous sick. I will take order for her keeping close. Inquire me out some mean poor gentleman, whom I will marry straight to Clarence's daughter. The boy is foolish, and I fear not him. Look how thou dreamst. I say again, give out that Anne, my queen, is sick and like to die. About it, for it stands me much upon to stop all hopes whose growth may damage me.
He exits.
I must be married to my brother's daughter, or else my kingdom stands on brittle glass. Murder her brothers, and then marry her. Uncertain way of going, but I am in so foreign blood that sin will pluck on sin. Tear falling pity dwells not in this eye.
James Tyrrell.
Is thy name Tyrrell?
James Tyrrell, your most obedient subject.
Art thou indeed?
Prove me, my gracious lord.
Darest thou resolve to kill a friend of mine?
Please you. But I'd rather kill two enemies.
Why then thou hast it. Two deep enemies. Foes to my rest and my sweet sleep's disturbers are they that I would have thee deal upon. Tyrrell, I mean those bastards in the tower.
Let me have open means to come to them, and soon I'll rid you from your fear of them.
Thou sing a sweet music. Hark! Come hither, Tyrrell.
Tyrrell approaches Richard and kneels.
Go by this token. Rise and lend thine ear.
Rises. Richard whispers to him, then Tyrrell steps back.
There is no more but so. Say it is done, and I will love thee and prefer thee for it.
I will dispatch it straight.
He exits. Enter Buckingham.
My lord, I have considered in my mind the late request that you did sound me in.
Oh, well, let that rest. Dorset has fled to Richmond.
I hear the news, my lord.
Stanley, he is your wife's son. Well, look unto it.
My lord, I claim the gift, my due by promise, for which your honor and your faith is pawned. The earldom of Hereford and the movables which you have promised I shall possess.
Stanley, look to your wife. If she convey letters to Richmond, you shall answer it.
What says your highness to my just request?
I do remember me. Henry VI did prophesy that Richmond should be king. Richmond was a little peevish boy. King, perhaps.
My lord.
How chance the prophet could not at that time have told me, I being by, that I should kill him?
My lord, your promise for the earldom.
Richmond! When last I was at Exeter, the mayor in courtesy showed me the castle and called it Rougemont, which name I started because a bard of Ireland told me once I should not live long after I saw Richmond.
My lord.
Why, what's o'clock?
I am thus bold to put your grace in mind of what you promised me.
Well, but what's o'clock?
Upon the stroke of 10.
Well, let it strike.
Why let it strike?
Because that, like a jack, thou keep'st the stroke betwixt thy begging and my meditation. I am not in the giving vein today.
Why, then resolve me whether you will or no.
Thou troublest me. I am not in the vein.
He exits and is followed by all except Buckingham.
And is it thus? Repays he my deep service with such contempt? Made I him king for this? Oh, let me think on Hastings and be gone. To Brecknock, while my fearful head is on.
He exits. Act 4, Scene 3. Enter Tyrrell.
Tyrannous and bloody act is done. Most arch deed of pietous massacre, yet ever this land is guilty of. Dighton and Forrest, who I did suborn, to do this piece of ruthless butchery. Albeit they were fleshed villains, bloody dogs, melted with tenderness and mild compassion. Wept like two children on their deaths, sad story. Oh, thus, quoth Dighton, lay the gentle babes, thus, quoth Forrest, girdling one another while within their alabaster innocent arms. Their lips were 4 red roses in a stalk, and in their summer beauty kissed each other. A book of prayers on their pillow lay. For once, quoth Forrest, almost changed my mind. But oh the devil, where the villain stopped. When Dighton thus told on, we smothered the most relished, the most replenished sweet work of nature, that from the prime creation ere she framed. Hence both are gone in conscience and remorse. They could not speak, so I left them both to bear this tiding of the bloody king.
Enter Richard.
Ah, here he comes. All health, my sovereign lord.
Kind Tyrrell, am I happy in thy news?
If to have done the thing you have gave charge, beget your happiness. Be happy then, for it is done.
But didst thou see them dead?
I did, my lord.
And buried, gentle Tyrrell?
The Champlain of the Tower hath buried them. But where, to say the truth, I do not know.
Come to me, Tyrrell. sooner after supper, when thou shalt tell the process of their death. Meantime, but think how I may do thee good, and be inheritor of thy desire. Farewell till then.
I humbly take my leave.
Tyrrell exits.
The son of Clarence I have pent up close, his daughter meanly have I matched in marriage. The sons of Edward sleep in Abraham's bosom, and Anne, my wife, hath bid this world good night. Now, for I know the Breton Richmond aims at young Elizabeth, my brother's daughter, and by that not looks proudly on the crown. To her go I, a jolly, thriving wooer.
Enter Ratcliffe.
My lord?
Good or bad news that thou comest in so bluntly?
Bad news, my lord. Morton is fled to Richmond, and Buckingham, backed with the hardy Welshman, is in the field, and still has his power in Screseth.
Ellie with Richmond troubles me more near than Buckingham and his rash levied strength. Come, I have learned that fearful commenting is leaden servitor dull delay. Delay leads impotent and snail-paced beggary. Then fiery expedition be my wing, Jove's Mercury, and herald for a king. Go, muster men, my counsel is my shield. We must be brief when traitors brave the field.
They exit. Act 4, Scene 4. Enter Queen Margaret.
So now prosperity begins to mellow and drop in the rotten mouth of death. Here in these confines slyly have I lurked to watch the waning of mine enemies. A dire introduction am I witness to, and will to France, hoping the consequence will prove as bitter, black, and tragical. Withdraw thee, wretched Margaret. Who comes here?
Enter the Duchess of York and Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, my poor princess. Oh, my tender babes, my unplumbed flowers, new appearing sweets. If yet your gentle souls fly in the air and be not fixed in doom perpetual, hover about me with your airy wings and hear your mother's lamentation.
Hover about her. Say that right for right hath dimmed your infant morn to aged night.
So many miseries have craved my voice that my woe-wearied tongue is still and mute. Edward Plantagenet, why art thou dead?
Plantagenet doth quit Plantagenet, Edward for Edward pays a dying debt.
Wilt thou, O God, fly from such gentle lambs and throw them in the entrails of the wolf? When didst thou sleep when such a deed was done?
When holy Harry died and my sweet son.
Dead life, blind sight, poor mortal living ghost, woe seen, world's shame, a grave's due by life usurped. Brief abstract and record of tedious days, rest thy unrest on England's lawful earth, unlawfully made drunk with innocent blood.
Ah, that thou wouldst as soon afford a grave as thou canst yield a melancholy seat. Then I would hide my bones, not rest them here. Oh, who hath any cause to mourn but we?
If ancient sorrow be most revered, give mine the benefit of seniority, and let my griefs frown upon the upper hand. If sorrow can admit society, tell Richard killed him. I had a husband till Richard killed him. Thou hadst an Edward till Richard killed him. Thou hadst a Richard till Richard killed him.
I had a Richard too, and thou didst kill him. I had a Rutland too, thou hopest to kill him.
Thou had a Clarence too, and Richard killed him. From forth the kennel of thy womb hath crept a hellhound that doth hunt us all to death, that lap their gentle blood, that excellent grand tyrant of the earth that reigns in galled eyes of weeping souls, that foul defacer of God's handiwork, thy womb let loose to chase us to our graves. O upright, just, and true deposing God, how do I thank thee that this carnal cur preys on the issue of his mother's body, and makes her pew fellow with others moan?
O Harry's wife, triumph not in my woes. God witness with me, I have wept for thine.
Bear with me, I am hungry for revenge, and now I cloy me with beholding it. Thy Edward, he is dead that killed my Edward. Thy other Edward dead to quit my Edward. Young York, he is but boot, because both they matched not the high perfection of my loss. Thy Clarence, he is dead that stabbed my Edward. And the beholders of this frantic play, the adulterate Hastings, Rivers, Vaughan, Grey, untimely smothered in their dusky graves. Richard yet lives. Hell's black intelligencer only reserved their factor to buy souls and send them thither. But at hand ensues his piteous and unpitied end. Earth gapes, hell burns, fiends roar, saints pray to have him suddenly conveyed from hence. Cancel his bond of life, dear God, I pray, that I may live and say the dog is dead.
Oh, thou didst prophesy the time would come that I should wish for thee to help me curse that bottled spider, that foul bunch-backed toad.
I called thee then, vain flourish of my fortune. I called thee then, poor shadow, painted queen. The presentation of but what I was, the flattering index of a direful pageant. One heaved a high to be hurled down below. A mother only mocked with two fair babes, a dream of what thou wast, a garish flag to be the aim of every dangerous shot, a sign of dignity, a breath, a bubble, a queen in jest only to fill the scene. Where is thy husband now? Where be thy brothers? Where are thy two sons? Wherein dost thou joy? Who sues and kneels and says, God save the queen? Where be the bending peers that flattered thee? Where be the thronging troops that followed thee? Decline all this and see what that now thou art. For happy wife, a most distressed widow. For joyful mother, one that wails the name. For one being sued to, one that humbly sues. For queen, a very caitiff crowned with care. For she that scorned at me, now scorned of me. For she, being feared of all, now fearing one. For she commanding all, obeyed of none. Thus hath the course of justice whirled about and left thee but a very prey to time, having no more but thought of what thou wast, to torture thee the more, being what thou art. Thou didst usurp my place, and dost thou not usurp the just proportion of my sorrow? Now thy proud neck bears half my burdened yoke, from which even here I slip my weary head and leave the burden of it all on thee. Farewell, York's wife and queen of sad mischance. These English woes shall make me smile in France.
She begins to exit.
Thou well skilled in curses. Stay a while, and teach me how to curse mine enemies.
Forbear to sleep the nights and fast the days, compare dead happiness with living woe. Think that thy babes were sweeter than they were, and that he slew them fouler than he is. Bettering thy loss makes the bad causer worse. Revolving this will teach thee how to curse.
My words are dull. Oh, quicken them with thine.
Thy woes will make them sharp and pierce like mine.
Margaret exits.
Why should calamity be so full of words?
Windy attorneys to their clients' woes, airy succeeders of intestate joys, poor breathing orators of miniseries. Let them have scope, though what they will impart help nothing else, yet they do ease the heart.
So, then be not tongue-tied, go with me, and in the breath of bitter words let's smother my damned son, that thy two sweet sons smothered. Be copious in exclaims.
Enter King Richard and his train, including Catesby.
Who intercepts me in my expedition?
Oh, she that might have intercepted thee by strangling thee in her accursed room from all the slaughter's wretch that thou hast done.
Hidst thou that forehead with a golden crown where should be branded, if that right were right, the slaughter of the prince that owed that crown, and the dire death of my poor sons and brothers? Tell me, thou villain slave, where are my children?
Thou toad, where is thy brother Clarence, and little Ned Plantagenet his son?
Where is the gentle Rivers, Vaughan, Grey?
Where is kind Hastings?
Flourish, trumpets! Strike alarm, drums! Let not the heavens hear these telltale women rail on the Lord's anointed. Strike, I say! Either be patient and entreat me fair, or with a clamorous report of war, thus I will drown your exclamations.
Art thou my son?
I thank God, my father, and yourself.
Impatiently hear my impatience.
Madam, I have a touch of your condition that cannot brook the accent of reproof.
Oh, let me speak.
Do then, but I'll not hear.
Oh, be mild and gentle in my words.
And brief, good mother, for I am in haste.
Art thou so hasty? I have stayed for thee, God knows, in torment and in agony.
And came I not at last to comfort you?
No, by the holy rood, thou knowest it well. Thou camest on earth to make the earth my hell. A grievous burden was thy birth to me. Tetchy and wayward was thy infancy. Thy school days frightful, desperate, wild, and furious. Thy prime of manhood, daring, bold, and venturous. Thy age confirmed, proud, subtle, sly, and bloody, more mild, but yet more harmful, kind in hatred. What come-through hour canst thou name thou ever graced me with thy company?
Faith, none but Humphrey Hower that called your grace to breakfast once, fourth of my company. If I be so gracious in your eye, let me march on, not offend you, madam. Strike up the drum.
Prithee, hear me speak.
You speak too bitterly.
Hear me a word, for I shall never speak to thee again.
So?
And thou wilt die by God's just ordinance, ere from this war thou turn a conqueror, or I with grief and ill and extreme rage shall perish and never more behold thy face again. Therefore take with thee my most grievous curse, which in the day of battle tire thee more than all of the complete armor that thou wearest. My prayers on the adverse party fight, and there the little souls of Edward's children whisper the spirits of thine enemies and promise thou success and victory. Bloody thou art, bloody will be thy end. Shame serves thy life, and doth thy death attend.
She exits.
Though far more cause, yet much less spirit to curse abides in me, I say amen to her.
Stay, madam. I must talk a word with you.
I have no more sons of the royal blood for thee to slaughter. For my daughters, Richard, they shall be praying nuns, not weeping queens, and therefore level not to hit their lives.
You have a daughter called Elizabeth, virtuous and fair, royal and gracious.
And must she die for this? Oh, let her live, and I'll corrupt her manners, stain her beauty, slander myself as false to Edward's bed, throw over her the veil of infamy, so she may live unscarred of bleeding slaughter. I will confess she was not Edward's daughter.
Wrong not her birth. She is a royal princess.
To save her life? I'll say she is not so.
Her life is safest only in her birth.
And only in that safety died her brothers.
Lo, at their birth good stars were opposite.
No, to their lives ill friends were contrary.
All unavoided is the doom of destiny.
True, when avoided grace makes destiny. My babes were destined to a fairer death if grace had blessed thee with a fairer life.
You speak as if that I had slain my cousins.
Cousins indeed, and by their uncle cousined of comfort, kingdom, kindred, freedom, life. Whose hands so overlaunched their tender hearts, thy head all indirectly gave direction. No doubt the murderous knife was dull and blunt till it was whetted on thy stone-hard heart to revel in the entrails of my lambs. But that still use of grief makes wild grief tame. My tongue should to thy ears not name my boys till that my nails were anchored in thine eyes, and I, in such a desperate bay of death, like a poor bark of sails and tackling reft, rush all to pieces on thy rocky bosom.
Madam, so thrive I in my enterprise and dangerous success of bloody wars, as I intend more good to you and yours than ever you or yours were by me harmed.
What good is covered with the face of heaven to be discovered that can do me good?
The advancement of your children, gentle lady.
Up to some scaffold there to lose their heads.
Unto the dignity and height of fortune, the high imperial type of this earth's glory.
Flatter my sorrow with report of it. Tell me what state, what dignity, what honor canst thou demise to any child of mine?
Even all I have, I, and myself and all, will I withal endow a child of thine. So in the lathe of thy angry soul, thou drown the sad remembrance of those wrongs which thou supposest I have done to thee.
Be brief, lest that process of thy kindness last longer than the telling than thy kindness's date.
Then know that from my soul, I love thy daughter.
My daughter's mother thinks it with her soul.
What do you think?
That thou dost love my daughter from thy soul, so from thy soul's love didst thou love her brothers, and from my heart's love I do thank thee for it.
Be not so hasty to confound my meaning. I mean that with my soul I love thy daughter, and do intend to make her Queen of England.
Well then, who dost thou mean shall be her king?
Even he that makes her queen, who else shall it be?
What, thou?
Even so. How think you of it?
And canst thou woo her?
That would I learn of you, as being the best acquainted with her humour.
And wilt thou learn of me?
Madam, with all my heart.
Send to her, by the man that slew her brothers, a pair of bleeding hearts. Thereon engrave Edward and York. Then haply will she weep. Therefore present to her, as sometime Margaret did to thy father, steeped in Rutland's blood, a handkerchief, which say to her did drain the purple sap from her sweet brother's body, and bid her wipe her weeping eyes withal. If this inducement move her not to love, send her a letter of thy noble deeds. Tell her thou madest away her uncle Clarence, her uncle Rivers, aye, and for her sake madest quick conveyance with her good Aunt Anne.
You mock me, madam. This is not the way to win your daughter.
There is no other way, unless thou couldst put on some other shape and not be Richard that hath done all this.
Say that I did all this for love of her.
Nay, then indeed she cannot choose but hate thee, having bought love with such a bloody spoil.
Look, what is done cannot be now amended. Men shall deal unadvisedly sometimes, which after hours gives leisure to repent. If I did take the kingdom from your sons to make amends, I'll give it to your daughter. If I had killed the issue of your womb to quicken your increase, I will beget mine issue of your blood upon your daughter. A granddame's name is little less in love than is the doting title of mother. They are as children but one step below. Even of your metal, of your very blood, of all one pain, save for a night of groans endured of her whom you bid like sorrow. Your children were vexation to your youth, but mine shall be a comfort to your age. The loss you have is but a son being king, and by that loss your daughter is made queen. I cannot make you what amends I would. Therefore accept such kindness as I can. Dorset, your son, that with a fearful soul leads discontented steps in foreign soil. This fair alliance quickly shall call home to high promotions and great dignity. The king that calls your beauteous daughter wife familiarly shall call thy Dorset brother. Again, shall you be mother to a king, and all the ruins of distressful times repaired with double riches of content. What? We have many goodly days to see. The liquid drops of tears that you have shed shall come again, transformed to orient pearl, advantaging their love with interest of 10 times double gain of happiness. Go then, my mother, to thy daughter go. Make bold her bashful ears with your experience. Prepare her ears to hear a wooer's tale. Put in her tender heart the aspiring flame of golden sovereignty. Acquaint the princess with the sweet, silent hours of marriage joys. And when this arm of mine hath chastised that petty rebel, dull-brained Buckingham, bound with triumphant garlands will I come and lead thy daughter to a conqueror's bed, to whom I will retail my conquest won, and she shall be sole victress, Caesar's Caesar.
What were I best to say? Her father's brother would be her lord? Or shall I say her uncle? Or he that slew her brothers and her uncles? Under what title shall I woo for thee, that God, the law, my honor, and her love can make seem pleasing to her tender years?
Infer fair England's peace by this alliance,
Which she shall purchase with still lasting war.
Tell her the king that may command entreats.
That at her hands, which the king's king forbids.
Say she shall be a high and mighty queen.
To veil the title as her mother doth.
Say I will love her everlastingly.
But how long shall that title ever last?
Sweetly in force unto her fair life's end.
But how long fairly shall her sweet life last?
As long as heaven and nature lengthens it.
As long as hell and Richard likes of it.
Say I, her sovereign, am her subject low.
But she, your subject, loathes such sovereignty.
Be eloquent in my behalf to her.
An honest tale speeds best being plainly told.
Then plainly to her tell her my loving tale.
Plain and not honest is too harsh a style.
Your reasons are too shallow and too quick.
Oh no, my reasons are too deep and dead. Too deep and dead, poor infants in their graves.
Harp not on that string, madam, that is past.
Harp on it still shall I, till heartstrings break.
Now by my George, my garter, and my crown.
Profaned, dishonored, and the third usurped.
I swear!
By nothing, for this is no oath. Thy George profaned, hath lost his lordly honor. Thy garter blemished, pawned his knightly virtue. Thy crown usurped, disgraced his kingly glory. If something thou wouldst swear to be believed, swear then by something that thou hast not wronged.
And by myself.
Thyself is self-misuse.
Now by the world.
'Tis full of thy foul wrongs.
My father's death.
Thy life hath it dishonored.
Well, then by God.
God's wrong is most of all. If thou didst fear to break an oath with him, the unity the king my husband made thou hadst not broken, nor my brothers died. If thou hadst feared to break an oath by him, the imperial metal circling now thy head had graced the tender temples of my child. And both the princes had been breathing here, which now, two tender bedfellows for dust, thy broken faith have made prey for worms. What canst thou swear by now?
The time to come.
That thou hast wronged in the time o'erpast. For I myself have many tears to wash here after time. For time past wronged by thee. The children live whose fathers thou hast slaughtered, ungoverned youth to wail it in their age. The parents live whose children thou hast butchered, old barren plants to wail it with their age. Swear not by time to come, for thou that hast misused ere used by times ill used or past.
As I intend to prosper and repent, so thrive I in my dangerous affairs of hostile arms. Myself confound, heaven and fortune bar me happy hours. Day, yield me not thy light, nor night thy rest. Be opposite all planets of good luck to my proceeding, if with dear heart's love, immaculate devotion, holy thoughts, I tender not thy beauteous princely daughter. In her consists my happiness and thine. Without her follows to myself and thee, herself the land, and many a Christian soul. Death, desolation, ruin, and decay. It cannot be avoided but by this. It will not be avoided but by this. Therefore, dear mother, I must call you so, be the attorney of my love to her. Plead what I will be, not what I have been. Not my deserts, but what I will deserve. Urge the necessity and state of times. Be not peevish found in great designs.
Shall I be tempted of the devil thus?
Aye, if the devil tempt you to do good.
Shall I forget myself to be myself?
Aye, if your self-remembrance wrong yourself.
Yet thou didst kill my children.
But in your daughter's womb I will bury them, where in their nest of spicery they will breed selves of themselves to your comforture.
Shall I go win my daughter to thy will?
And be a happy mother by thy deed.
I go. Write to me very shortly, and you shall understand from me her mind.
Bear her my true love's kiss. And so farewell.
The queen exits.
Relenting fool and shallow changing woman.
Enter Ratcliffe.
How now, what news?
Most mighty sovereign, on the western coast rideth a puissant navy. To our shores throng many doubtful, hollow-hearted friends, unarmed and unresolved to beat them back. 'Tis thought that Richmond is their admiral, and there they hull, expecting but the aid of Buckingham to welcome them ashore.
Some light-foot friend post of the Duke of Norfolk. Ratcliffe thyself, or Catesby, where is he?
Here, my good lord.
Catesby, fly to the Duke.
I will, my lord, with all convenient haste.
Ratcliffe, come hither. Post to Salisbury, when thou comest thither. Dull, unmindful villain, what stayest thou here, and goest not thou to the Duke?
First, mighty liege, tell me your highness's pleasure, what from your grace I shall deliver to him.
Oh, true. Good Catesby. Bid him levy straight the greatest strength and power that he can make, and meet me suddenly at Salisbury.
I go.
He exits.
What may it please you, shall I do at Salisbury?
Why, what's that? Why, what wouldst thou do before what wouldst thou do there before I go?
Your highness told me I should post before.
My mind has changed.
Enter Lord Stanley.
Stanley, what news with you?
None good, my liege, to please you with the hearing, nor none so bad, but well may be reported.
Wait a riddle, neither good nor bad. What needst thou run so many miles about, when thou mayst tell thy tale the nearest way? Once more, what news?
Richmond is on the seas.
There let him sink, and be the seas on him. White-livered renegade, what doth he there?
I know not, mighty sovereign, but by guess.
Well, as your guess?
Stirred up by Dorset, Buckingham, and Morton, he makes for England, there to claim the crown.
Is the chair empty? Is the sword unswayed? Is the king dead? Is the umpire unpossessed? What heir of York is there but alive but we? And who is England's king but great York's heir? Then tell me, what makes he upon the seas?
Unless for that, my liege, I cannot guess.
Unless for that he comes to be your liege, you cannot guess wherefore the Welshman comes. Thou wilt revolt and fly to him, I fear.
No, my good lord, therefore mistrust me not.
Where is thy power then to beat him back? Where be thy tenants and thy followers? Are they not now upon the western shore, safe conducting the rebels from their ships?
No, my good lord, my friends are in the north.
Called friends to me, what do they in the north when they should serve their sovereign in the west?
They have not been commanded, mighty king. Pleaseth your majesty to give me leave, I'll muster up my friends and meet your grace, where and what time your majesty shall please.
Why, thou wouldst be gone to join with Richmond. But I'll not trust thee.
Most mighty sovereign, you have no cause to hold my friendship doubtful. I never was, nor never will be false.
Go then and muster men, but leave behind your son, George Stanley. Look your heart be firm, or else his head's assurance is but frail.
So deal with him as I prove true to you.
He exits. Enter a messenger.
My gracious sovereign, now is in Devonshire, as I by my friends am well advised, Sir Edward Countery and the haughty Perlet, Bishop of Exeter, his elder brother, with many more confederates are in arms.
Enter another messenger.
In Kent, my liege, the Guilfords are in arms, and every hour more competitors flock to the rebels, and their power grows strong.
Enter another messenger. My lord, the army of great Buckingham.
All you owls, nothing but songs of death. There, take thou that till that bring better news.
The news I have to tell your majesty is that by sudden floods and fall of waters, Buckingham's army is dispersed and scatters. He himself wandered away alone, no man knows whither.
I cry thee mercy. There is my purse to cure that blow of thine. Hath any well-advised friend proclaimed reward to him that brings the traitor in?
Such proclamation has been made, my lord. Enter another messenger.
Sir Thomas Lovell and Lord Marquis Dorset, 'tis said, my liege, in Yorkshire are in arms. But this good comfort bring I to your highness. The Breton navy is dispersed by tempest. Richmond, in Dorsetshire, sent out a boat onto the shore to ask those on the banks if they were his assistants, yea or no. Who answered him, they came from Buckingham upon his party. He, mistrusting them, hoisted sail and made his course again for Brittany.
March on, since we are up in arms. If not to fight with foreign enemies, yet to beat down these rebels here at home.
Enter Catesby.
My liege, the Duke of Buckingham is taken. That is the best news. That the Earl of Richmond is with a mighty power landed at Milford is colder tidings, yet they must be told.
Away to Salisbury. While we reason here, a royal battle might be won and lost. Someone take order Buckingham be brought to Salisbury. The rest, march with me.
They exit. Act 4, Scene 5. Enter Stanley, the Earl of Derby, and Sir Christopher.
Sir Christopher, tell Richmond this from me, that in the sty of the most deadly ball, my son George Stanley is franked up in hold. If I revolt, off goes young George's head. The fear of that holds off my present aid, so get thee gone. Commend me to thy lord. Withal, say that the queen hath heartily consented he should espouse Elizabeth her daughter. But tell me, where is princely Richmond now?
At Pembroke or at Haverfordwest in Wales.
What men of name resort to him?
Sir Walter Herbert, a renowned soldier, Sir Gilbert Talbot, Sir William Stanley, Oxford, redoubted Pembroke, Sir James Blunt, and Rice Ep Thomas, with a valiant crew, and many other of great name and worth. And towards London do they bend their power, if by way they be not fought withal.
Well, hie thee to thy lord. I kiss his hand. My letter will resolve him of my mind. Farewell.
They exit. End of Act 4. Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Buckingham with the sheriff and halberds led to execution.
Will not King Richard let me speak with him?
No, my good lord, therefore be patient.
Hastings and Edward's children, Grey and Rivers, holy King Henry, and thy fair son Edward, Vaughan, and all that have miscarried by underhand, corrupted, foul injustice. If that your moody, discontented souls do through the clouds behold this present hour, even for revenge, mock my destruction. This is All Souls' Day, fellow, is it not?
It is.
Why then, All Souls' Day is my body's doomsday. This is the day which, in King Edward's time, I wished might fall on me when I was found false to his children and his wife's allies. This is the day wherein I wish to fall by the false faith of him whom I most trusted. This All Souls' Day to my fearful soul, the determined respite of my wrongs. That high all-seer which I dallied with hath turned my feigned prayer on my head, and given in earnest what I begged in jest. Thus doth he force the swords of wicked men to turn their own points in their masters' bosoms. Thus Margaret's curse falls heavy on my neck. When he, quoth she, shall split thy heart with sorrow, remember Margaret was a prophetess. Come, lead me, officers, to the block of shame. Wrong hath but wrong, and blame the due of blame.
Buckingham exits with the officers. Act 5, Scene 2. Enter Richmond, Oxford, Blunt, Herbert, and others with drum and colors.
Fellows in arms, and my most loving friends, bruised underneath the yoke of tyranny, thus far into the bowels of the land have we marched on without impediment, and here receive we from our father Stanley lines of fair comfort and encouragement. The wretched, bloody, and usurping boar that spoiled your summer fields and fruitful vines, swills your warm bloods like wash, and makes his trough. In your imboweled bosoms, this foul swine is now even in the center of this isle. Near to the town of Leicester, as we learn, from Tamworth thither is but 1 day's march. In God's name, cheerly on, courageous friends, to reap the harvest of perpetual peace by this one bloody trial of sharp war.
Every man's conscience is 1,000 men to fight against this guilty homicide.
I doubt not, but his friends will turn to us.
He hath no friends, but what are friends for fear, which in his dearest need will fly from him?
All for our advantage. Then, in God's name, march! True hope is swift and flies with swallows' wings. Kings it makes gods, and meaner creatures kings.
All exit. Act 5, Scene 3. Enter King Richard in arms, with Norfolk, Ratcliffe, and the Earl of Surrey, and soldiers.
Here, pitch our tent, even here in Bosworth Field. My Lord of Surrey, why look you so sad?
My heart is 10 times lighter than my looks.
My Lord of Norfolk.
Here, most gracious liege.
Norfolk, we must have knocks, huh? Must we not?
We must both give and take, my loving lord.
Up with my tent! Yeah, will I lie tonight? But where tomorrow? Well, all's one for that. Who hath descried the number of the traitors?
6,000 or 7,000 in their utmost power.
Why, I'll but tell you troubles that account. Besides, the king's name is a tower of strength, which they upon the adverse faction want. Up with the tent! Come, noble gentlemen, let us survey the vantage of the ground. Call for some men of sound direction. Let's lack no discipline, make no delay. For lords, tomorrow is a busy day.
Richard's tent now in place, they exit. Enter Richmond, Sir William Brandon, Oxford, Dorset, Herbert Blunt, and others who set up Richmond's tent.
The weary sun hath made a golden set, and by the bright track of this fiery car gives token of a goodly day tomorrow. Sir William Brandon, you shall bear my standard. Give me some ink and paper in my tent. I'll draw the form and model of our battle. Limit each leader to his several charge, and part in just proportion our small power. My Lord of Oxford, you, Sir William Brandon, and you, Sir Walter Herbert, stay with me. The Earl of Pembroke keeps his regiment. Good Captain Blunt, bear my good night to him, and by the 2nd hour in the morning, desire the Earl to see me in my tent. Yet one thing more, good Captain, do for me. Where is Lord Stanley quartered, do you know?
Unless I have misstained his colors much, which, well, I am assured I have not done. His regiment lies half a mile, at least, south from the mighty power of the king.
If without peril it be possible, sweet Blunt, make some good means to speak with him, and give him from me this most needful note.
Upon my life, my lord, I'll undertake it. So God give you quiet rest tonight.
Good night, good Captain Blunt.
Blunt exits.
Come, gentlemen, let us consult upon tomorrow's business. Into my tent. The dew is raw and cold.
Richmond, Brandon, Dorset, Herbert, and Oxford withdraw into their tent, and others exit. Enter to his tent Richard, Ratcliffe, Norfolk, and Catesby with soldiers.
What is to the o'clock?
It's supper time, my lord. It's 9 o'clock.
I will not sup tonight. Give me some ink and paper. What, is my beaver easier than it was, and all my armor laid into my tent?
It is, my liege, and all things are in readiness.
Good Norfolk, hie thee to thy charge. Use careful watch. Choose trusty sentinels.
I go, my lord.
Stir with the lock tomorrow, gentle Norfolk.
I warrant you, my lord.
Catesby!
My lord.
Sent out a pursuivant at arms to Stanley's regiment. Bid him bring his power before sunrising, lest his son George fall into the blind cave of eternal night. Fill me a bowl of wine. Give me a watch. Saddle white Surrey for the field tomorrow. Look that my staves be sound and not too heavy. Ratcliffe,
My lord.
saw'st thou the melancholy Northumberland?
Thomas, the Earl of Surrey, and himself, much about the cockshut time, from troop to troop went through the army, cheering up the soldiers.
Sir, I am satisfied. Give me a bowl of wine. I have not the alacrity of spirit nor cheer of mind that I was wont to have.
Wine is brought.
Set it down. Is ink and paper ready?
It is, my lord.
Bid my guard watch. Leave me. Ratcliffe, about the mid of night, come to my tent and help to arm me. Leave me, I say.
Ratcliffe exits. Richard sleeps in his tent, which is guarded by soldiers. Enter Stanley, Earl of Derby, to Richmond in his tent.
Fortune and victory sit on thy helm.
All comfort that the dark night can afford. Be to thy person, noble father-in-law. Tell me, how fares our loving mother?
I, by eternity, bless thee from thy mother, who prays continually for Richmond's good. So much for that. The silent hours steal on, and flaky darkness breaks within the east. In brief, for so the season bids us be, prepare thy battle early in the morning, and put thy fortune to the arbitrament of bloody strokes and mortal-staring war. I, as I may, that which I would I cannot, with best advantage will deceive the time and aid thee in this doubtful shock of arms. But on thy side I may not be too forward, lest, being seen, thy brother, tender George, be executed in his father's sight. Farewell. The leisure and the fearful time cuts off the ceremonious vows of love, and ample interchange of sweet discourse, which so long sundered friends should dwell upon. God give us leisure for these rites of love. Once more, adieu. Be valiant and speed well.
Good lords, conduct him to his regiment. I'll stride with troubled thoughts to take a nap, lest leaden slumber pies me down tomorrow, when I should mount with wings of victory. Once more, good night, kind lords and gentlemen.
All but Richmond leave his tent and exit. Richmond kneels.
O thou, whose captain I count myself, look on my forces with gracious eye, put in their hands thy bruising irons of wrath, that they may crush down with a heavy fall the usurping helmets of our adversaries. Make us thy ministers of chastisement, that we may praise thee in thy victory. To thee I do command my watchful soul, ere I let fall the windows of mine eyes, sleeping and waking. Oh, defend me still.
Richmond sleeps. Enter the ghost of young Prince Edward, son of Henry VI.
Let me sit heavy on thy soul tomorrow. Think how thou stabbedst me in my prime of youth at Tewkesbury. Despair, and therefore die. Be cheerful, Richmond, for the wronged souls of butchered princes fight in thy behalf. King Henry's issue, Richmond, comforts thee.
He exits. Enter the ghost of Henry VI. When I was mortal, my anointed body by thee was punctured full of deadly holes. Think on the tower and on me. Despair and die. Harry VI bids thee despair and die. Virtuous and holy, be thou conqueror. Harry, that prophesied thou shouldst be king, doth comfort thee in thy sleep. Live and flourish. Enter the ghost of Clarence. Let me sit heavy in thy soul tomorrow, I that was washed to death with fulsome wine. Poor Clarence, that by thy guile betrayed to death, tomorrow in the battle think on me, and fall thy edless sword, despair, and die. Thou offspring of the house of Lancaster, the wronged heirs of York do pray for thee. Good angels guard thy battle, live and flourish. Enter the ghosts of Rivers, Grey, and Vaughan.
Let me sit heavy in thy soul tomorrow, Rivers that died at Pomfret, despair and die.
Think upon Grey, and let thy soul despair.
Think upon Vaughan, and with guilty fear let fall thy lance, despair and die. Awake, and think our wrong, and Richard's bosom will conquer him. Awake, and win the day.
Enter the ghosts of the two young princes.
Dream on thy cousins smothered in the tower. Let us be led within thy bosom, Richard, and weigh thee down to ruin, shame, death. Thy nephews' souls bid thee despair and die.
Sleep, Richmond, sleep in peace and wake in joy. Good angels guard thee from the boar's annoy. Live and beget a happy race of kings. Edward's unhappy sons do bid thee flourish.
They exit. Enter the ghost of Hastings.
Bloody and guilty, guiltily awake, and in bloody battle end thy days. Think on Lord Hastings, despair and die. Quiet, untroubled soul, awake, awake. Arm, fight, and conquer for fair England's sake.
He exits. Enter the ghost of Lady Anne, his wife.
Richard, thy wife, that wretched Anne, thy wife, that never slept a quiet hour with thee, now fills thy sleep with turbation. Tomorrow in the battle, think on me, and fall thy edgeless sword, despair, and die. Thou, quiet soul, sleep thou a quiet sleep. Dream of success and happy victory. Thy adversary's wife doth pray for thee.
She exits. Enter the ghost of Buckingham.
First was I that helped thee to the crown. The last was I that felt thy tyranny. Go in the battle, think on Buckingham, and die in terror of thy guiltiness. Dream on of bloody deeds and death. Fainting despair, despairing yield thy breath. I died for hope ere I could lend thee aid, but cheer thy heart, and be thou not dismayed. God and good angels fight on Richmond's side, and Richard fall in height of all his pride.
He exits. Richard starts up out of a dream.
Give me another horse. Bind up my wounds. Have mercy, Jesu. Soft, I did but dream. Coward conscience, how dost thou afflict me? The lights burn blue, it is now dead midnight. Cold, fearful drops stand on my trembling flesh. What do I fear? Myself? There's none else by. Richard loves Richard. That is, I am I. Is there a murderer here? No. Yes, I am. Then fly. What, for myself? Great reason why, lest I revenge. What, myself upon myself? Alack, I love myself. Wherefore? For any good that I myself have done unto myself? Oh no. Alas, or rather, hate myself for hateful deeds committed by myself. I'm a villain. Yet I lie, I am not. Fool! Thyself speak well, fool, do not flatter. My conscience hath 1,000 several tongues, and every tongue brings in a several tale, and every tale condemns me for a villain. Perjury, perjury in the highest degree. Murder, stern murder in the direst degree. All several sins, all used in each degree, throng to the bar, crying all, guilty, guilty! I shall despair. There is no creature loves me, and if I die, no soul will pity me. And wherefore should they, since that I myself find in myself no pity to myself? Methought the souls of all that I had murdered came to my tent, and every one did threat tomorrow's vengeance on the head of Richard.
Enter Ratcliffe.
My lord.
Zounds! Who's there?
Radcliffe, my lord, 'tis I. The early village cock hath twice done salutation to the morn. Your friends are up and buckle on their armour.
Oh, Ratcliffe, I have dreamed a fearful dream. What thinkst thou? Will our friends prove all true?
No doubt, my lord.
Oh, Ratcliffe, I fear, I fear.
Nay, good my lord, be not afraid of shadows.
By the Apostle Paul, shadows tonight have struck more terror to the soul of Richard than can the substance of 10,000 soldiers, armed and proof and led by shallow Richmond. 'Tis not yet near day. Come, go with me. Under our tents I'll play the eavesdropper to see if any mean to shrink from me. Good morrow, Richmond.
Cry mercy, lords, and watchful gentlemen, and you have ta'en a tardy sluggard here.
Have you slept, my lord?
The sweetest sleep and fairest boding dreams that ever entered in a drowsy head have I since your departure had, my lords. Methought their souls, whose bodies Richard murdered, came to my tent and cried on victory. I promise you my soul is very jocund in the remembrance of so fair a dream. How far into the morning is it, lords?
Upon the stroke of 4.
Why then 'tis time to arm and give direction. More than I have said, loving countrymen, the leisure and enforcement of the time forbids to dwell upon. Yet remember this, God and our good cause fight upon our side. The prayers of holy saints and wronged souls, like high-reared bulwarks, stand before our faces, Richard except. Those whom we fight against had rather have us win than him they follow. For what is he they follow? Truly, gentlemen, a bloody tyrant and a homicide. One raised in blood and one in blood established, one that made means to come by what he hath, and slaughtered those that were the means to help him. A base foul stone made precious by the foil of England's chair, where he is falsely set. One that have ever been God's enemy. Then if you fight against God's enemy, God will in justice ward you as his soldiers. If you do sweat to put our tyrants down, you sleep in peace, the tyrant being slain. If you do fight against your country's foes, your country's fat shall pay your pains the higher. If you do fight in safeguard for your wives shall welcome home the conquerors. If you do free your children from the sword, your children's children quits it in your age, then in the name of God and all these rights, advance your standards, draw your willing swords. For me, the ransom of my bold attempt, shall be this cold corpse on the earth's cold face. But if I strive to gain the gain of my attempt, the least of you shall share his part thereof. Sound drums and trumpets boldly and cheerfully. God and Saint George, Richmond, and victory!
They exit. Enter King Richard, Ratcliffe, and soldiers.
What said Northumberland as touching Richmond?
That he was never trained up in arms.
He said the truth. And what said Surrey then?
He smiled and said, the better for our purpose.
It was in the right, and so indeed it is. Tell the clock there, give me a calendar. Who saw the sun today?
Not I, my lord.
Then he disdains to shine, for by the book he should have braved the east an hour ago. A black day will it be to somebody. Ratcliffe!
My lord.
The sun will not be seen today. The sky doth frown and law upon our enemy. Would these dewy tears were from the ground. Not shine today? Why, what is that to me? More than to Richmond, for the self-same heaven that frowns on me looks sadly upon him.
Enter Norfolk.
Arm, arm, my lord, the foe vaunts in the field.
Come, bustle, bustle! Comparison my horse! Call up Lord Stanley. Bid him bring his power. I would lead forth my soldiers to the plain, and thus my battle shall be ordered. My forward shall be drawn out all in length, consisting equally of horse and foot. Our archers shall be placed in the midst. John, Duke of Norfolk, Thomas, Earl of Surrey, shall have the leading of this foot and horse. They thus directed we will follow in the main battle, whose puissance on either side shall be well winged with our chiefest horse. This and St. George to boot. What thinkst thou, Norfolk?
A good direction, warlike sovereign. This found I on my tent this morning.
Jockey of Norfolk, be not so bold, for Dixon thy master is bought and sold. Thing devised by the enemy. Go, gentlemen, every man unto his charge. Let not our babbling dreams affright our souls. Conscience is but a word that cowards use, devised at first to keep the strong in awe. Our strong arms be our conscience, swords our law. March on, join bravely. Let us to it pell-mell. If not to heaven, then hand in hand to hell. What shall I say more than I have inferred? Remember whom you are to cope withal. A sort of vagabonds, rascals, and runaways, a scum of Bretons and base lackey peasants, whom their o'ercloyed country vomits forth to desperate adventures and assured destruction. You sleeping safe, they bring to you unrest. You having lands and blessed with beauteous wives, they would restrain the one, disdain the other. And who doth lead them but a paltry fellow, long kept in Brittany at our mother's cost, a milksop, one that never in his life felt so much cold as over shoes and snow. Let's whip these stragglers o'er the seas again. Lash hence these all-weaning rags of France, these famished beggars weary of their lies, who, but for dreaming on this fond exploit, for want of means, poor rats, had hanged themselves. If we be conquered, let men conquer us, and not these bastard Bretons, whom our fathers have in their own land beaten, bobbed, and thumped, and in record left them the heirs of shame. Shall these enjoy our lands, lie with our wives, ravish our daughters? Hark! I hear their drum. Fight, gentlemen of England, Fight, bold yeomen. Draw, archers. Draw your arrows to the head. Spur your proud horses hard, and ride in blood, and maze the welkin with your broken staves.
Enter a messenger.
What says Lord Stanley? Will
My
he bring
lord,
his
he
power?
My lord, he doth deny to come.
Off with his son George's head!
My lord, the enemy is past the marsh. After the battle, let George Stanley die.
1,000 hearts are great in my bosom. Advance our standards, set upon our foes our ancient word of courage. Fair St. George, inspire us with the spleen of fiery dragons. Upon them, victory sits on our helms.
They exit. Act 5, Scene 4. Enter Norfolk with soldiers and Catesby.
Rescue, my lord of Norfolk! Rescue! Rescue! The king enacts more wonders than a man daring to oppose to every danger. His horse is slain, and all on foot he fights, seeking for Richard in the throat of death. Rescue, fair lord, or else the day is lost.
Norfolk exits with soldiers. Enter Richard.
A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse!
Withdraw, my lord. I'll help you to a horse.
Slave, I'll have my life set upon a cast, and I will stand the hazard of the die. I think there be 6 Richmonds in the field. 5 have I slain today instead of him. A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse!
They exit. Act 5, Scene 5. Enter Richard and Richmond. They fight. Richard is slain.
I'm dead.
Richmond exits and Richard's body is removed. Enter Richmond, Stanley, the Earl of Derby, bearing the crown with other lords and soldiers.
God and your arms be praised, victorious friends! The day is ours! The bloody dog is dead!
Courageous Richmond, well hast thou equipped thee. Lo, here is this long usurped royalty. From the dead temples of this bloody wrench have I plucked it off, to grace thy brows withal. Wear it, enjoy it, and make much of it.
Great God of heaven, say amen to all. Tell me, is young George Stanley living?
He is, my lord, and safe in Leicester town. Whither, if it please you, we may now withdraw us.
What men of name are slain on either side?
John, Duke of Norfolk, Walter Lord Ferrers, Sir Robert Brackenbury, and Sir William Brandon.
Inter their bodies, as becomes their births. Proclaim a pardon to the soldiers fled, that in submission will return to us. And then, as we have taken the sacrament, we will unite the white rose and the red. Smile heaven upon this fair conjunction, that long have frowned upon their enmity. What traitor hears me and says not amen? England hath long been mad and scarred herself. The brother blindly shed the brother's blood. The father rashly slaughtered his own son. The son, compelled, been butchered to the sire. All this divided York and Lancaster, divided in their dire division. Oh, now let Richmond and Elizabeth, the true succeeders of each royal house, by God's fair ordinance, conjoin together, and let their heirs, God, if thy will be so, enrich the time to come with smooth-faced peace, with smiling plenty, and fair prosperous days. Abate the edge of traitors, gracious Lord, that would reduce these bloody days again, and make poor England weep streams of blood. Let them not live to taste this land's increase, that would with treason wound this fair land's peace. Now civil wounds are stopped, peace lives again, that she may long live here. God say, Amen.
End of play. Thank you for joining us for Richard III. A big thanks again to our friend, your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare. Visit him at his website, shakespeareapproves.com, or on Facebook at Shakespeare Approves, your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare. We would once again like to thank all of the actors who volunteered to read with us this evening. Thank you all so very much. If you have enjoyed this reading, all of our past readings are available on our Facebook page and a little better organized on our website, zenithplayers.com. If you want more information on us, including how to be involved in a reading like this one, head to our Facebook page, Zenith Players, send us a message, or send us an email to casting@zenithplayers.com, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. We want to continue to express our support to all those out there who are working to keep us safe and those continuing to protest and demonstrate. Join us Monday for the final episode of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and next Saturday as we return to ancient Greece with the Trojan women. Thank you and good night.